Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it. Medeiros is going to get it.
Haven't got it!
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start dropping. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it! Big Barry!
A very good morning, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening from wherever you may be in the world. And welcome to the big one. We're at Le Mans today.
We are at Le Mans today for a historic race here in some absolutely fantastic historic cars back from 1998. Ready for you all here today at Le Mans, an absolutely fantastic track. Brilliant version of what we've got here this evening as well. We have the historic version from 1991 to 1996, so there's a few corners missing from the modern version, but it is still a fantastic track and a very difficult track at that. So it'll be interesting to see how things go this evening. We've got some exciting championships available as well. But here we are with Champion Motorsports and for the virtual World Sportscar Championship here at Le Mans. Could be an exciting one. We'll hopefully have Dan back soon and get that issue solved, but move swiftly on. It's going to be an exciting race, as I say, here with the championship hotting up heavily already. But we'll look at the calendar first, as we are here for 24 hours of Le Mans. We're going to amalgamate that down to 2.4 hours of Le Mans this evening, and we've also got the Dijon race coming up next. Hungaroring, Suzuka, Donington, Austria, Miami and Laguna Seca still to go here in this series with Stormgang Simulation. But an exciting one tonight here on the 20th of May for Le Mans. This is the track map that we have for you. So as we say, a few corners missing from the modern version and a few extra, well, no extra bits actually added in here, but it is a little bit simpler here as you come through turns 2, 3 and 4, and a little simpler at the end of the Porsche curves as well. We have Indianapolis and Arnage, still those two very tricky corners there. And yeah, but we may have lost Dan for this evening, but we'll bring James in to replace him as we move on now to the standings for the championship. We're currently here looking at the LMG2 AM category. Peter Meyer currently leading that championship by 2 points, but has 3 wins in the bag. So even though Filippo Marazzi has been consistent and is still sitting there in P2, he's got a lot of making up to do. He needs to get some wins under his belt in order to challenge Peter Meyer come the end of the season. LMGT2 standings for the pros here. For Ross Smith currently leading at the moment, 3 points lead over Matthew Overton, and JT Tammy bringing up the rear in P3. And yeah, 5 different winners so far in this category. Absolutely fantastic racing between these fellas. Very close and competitive as we look at the AMs for the LMGT1s. Becky Ely, and at the moment currently sitting on 3 wins, 31 points, taking command of this championship as it stands. But Momo Scuderia Cavalli in a commanding lead in the championship team standing with Yorgos and Gialedis and Barry Dimarzo currently in the Ferrari 333 SP, doing very well in the championship. But on at the LGT1s pros, we've got Magnus Dahlgren currently leading the championship by 7 points with 2 wins under his belt. Wouter de Bruyne currently in P2 with 1 win, and Ethan Funk there master of consistency so far in P3 with 16 points and no wins. We've got Johnny Gutierrez and Daniel Kirkby, also the 2 other winners out of the 4 in this category here. ME Racing currently dominating the team standings there with the Toyota GT1. Absolutely brilliant car, that Toyota. We've got the tyre compounds here then. We've got the Ferraris, McLarens, everybody on the white, all looking at the soft hards, and we've also got soft hards for the everybody in yellow as well. So they'll be very similar to what we've had all throughout this season so far here at VWSC. So, hang on. Main challenges here for the Le Mans. It's an endurance race. We've got 2.4 hours of racing here for you. So maintaining focus is going to be absolutely crucial for that length of time. It's going to be very tricky. So is the strategy and the fuel. Just maintaining that consistency throughout, making sure that you're sticking in fastest lap times you can get around here. But it is going to be a long one for us this evening. Going to be an interesting one for sure. But yeah, James, what do you think of this track? I mean, it's slightly different to the original, the one that we're used to know and love, the modern version, but it's still a tricky track nonetheless. What do you think?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one here as well. I think at the end of the day, you know, we're looking on roughly about 2 tyre stops, 2 fuel stops as well. You might get away with tyres, but you might possibly not. Here, you might need to change them at the same time. So it's going to be an interesting one overall, I think, on how these guys get on. It's definitely going to be at least 2 stops. I don't think anyone's going to be able to go 3 stops. I think it's going to be, you know, 2 maybe 3, should we say. Depends on how they get on with the fuel strategy and how they, you know, manage to maintain their fuel. I think that's going to be one of the interesting things here as well. It is the historic circuit, so overall it is a completely different setup to the ones that we love today and have seen previously, of course. We've got different corners on there as well. So it's going to be exciting, I think. You know, we've got 2.5 hours. We've got the modern circuit, the circuit itself, and then we've got the... Obviously, we're rounding out 24 hours of action into 2.5, so we've got a +10 on obviously the day-night cycle here in our factor as well. So we will have night, we will have day. Obviously, we will have qualifying coming up as well at the same time. So the qualifying will be in about 6 minutes. So we are going to be keeping up to date with that one, and we will have qualifying. They're going to go into a brief little driver briefing at the same time. But I think overall, this could be an absolutely stellar race, and I think it could be one that we're all going to love and get excited for here as well. I know, obviously, poor old Dan just looks like he may have just lost electric at the moment, so it's caused a bit of a problem where he has. So we are going to be moving in as we can get on as well. There's been a few off tracks, I think, though, Steve. I think that's one of the things the drivers are going to have to look out for. People sliding, taking exits where they shouldn't, you know, straight lining corners that you really need to turn for. But I think they're, going to see how they get on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They'll give us a great indication as to who's done the practice on this particular version of the track as well, because there are a couple of moments here on this version where you think, I need to turn left here, or this, particularly the Ford chicane is very, very different in this version than the original modern version. So it's going to be very interesting to see how people tackle those. Interestingly, like you say with the strategies as well, it's a very fine line as over the 2 to 3 stop mark, particularly for the GT2s. GT1s, sorry. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out, because we're going to see a lot of different strategies in play over the course of the race. And obviously a long race that we've got here, only 2.5 hours from our point of view, but 24 for the game's point of view, like you mentioned there. So we're going to see the full day-night cycle. So people are going to have to get those headlights working as well. We have had an update, I believe, recently for the Mercedes for the headlights as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes along.
Yeah, I think it will be in general, to be honest. This is roughly what the driver sees from the car. You know, we're on board with Adrian Rice here as well. He's currently in the Ferrari 333, so you can see roughly what he's looking at with the way the headlights are lit up. Obviously, he's in a lit part of the circuit currently, so probably, you know, going to provide him some help there. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be difficult. Night and day, it's not easy. You know, if you're on the track for the day and you're drifting into night, is that transition period between what your eyes think you can see and where your braking point is to what is actually able to be seen and where your braking point actually is. It's a different kettle of fish going from night to day, and I think that's the thing that people don't quite understand here as well is that transition period is a tough one, and I think they've got to be aware of what's going to happen. They've got to be careful. They're going to have to try as hard as they can to basically settle down with what they're doing. Make sure they're hitting it point after point after point during the daytime to be able to then, when they go into this night cycle or starting at night, they've got to be able to then basically hit them again. And it's always difficult here as well, as you can see with Adrian Rice coming around the last two chicanes, and then we're off again for another lap here as well. So I think it's going to be an exciting one, definitely.
Certainly will. Certainly will. Le Mans is such a historic track as well, and it's great for racing as well. It gives you a lot of opportunities to overtake here, and you've got to be brave to make an overtake work here as well, but you get that such a huge toll down at the Hune Dieres. It's a very difficult one to say there, but the main massive straight that you see there on the backside of the track is going to be, well, the majority of the moves are going to be done, but those two chicanes in the middle there, not much different to the modern version. Very tight chicane, got to slow down the car from pretty much max speed. And obviously we all know of that famous Mercedes at the end of that straight as well, coming into the Mulsanne corner at the bottom, flipping over when it got the aero wrong. And I believe we were talking about this just before the race. It was a CLR that did that.
Yes.
You know, I can get my good works in there with George before with the race. But yeah, it's going to be an absolutely fantastic race. We've got a tight championship to go, and yeah, it's going to be very interesting strategy-wise in terms of whether or not people take tyres, because I think some of the really quick boys can maybe, if they keep things smooth and don't overdrive the car and avoid that tyre slip, then they'll be able to get the one set of tyres maybe all the way till the end and not need to change them. But maybe some people won't be able to do that. They'll be a bit slippy, maybe causing a bit of scrub on those tyres, and maybe will need to take a second set. And if they do that, those tyres are going to be quicker for a little bit as well. So it's going to be entertaining to see exactly how everybody works all of this out, and what they do in the race as well. Especially, it's going to really depend as well whether or not they're fighting somebody at that moment in time to make those decisions as well. Because if you're fighting somebody, we've seen off track here from the Mercedes there,
Alexander
going a bit
Schultz.
wide.
Yeah, it's not been the first time that's happened, and I don't think it's going to be the last, to be honest with you, Steve. And I think it's going to be one that's going to be an interesting one that we will have to look out for, because I think there's been a few people during this practice session that have taken off tracks. You know, we saw one earlier on with Magnus Dahlgren where he actually went off that hard, he hit the wall and flipped over. So for him, he's got to have to be careful here as well. But I think that's one of the things. They've got that run down, what is technically known as the Mulsanne Straight today, as we know it. Obviously, the Hyundaires is what it was then. So they've got the two chicanes in the middle to break that up, but they're still carrying a lot of speed going into that Mulsanne corner. And at the end of the day, they really do not want to be risking going in there full throttle. You know, it's going to be difficult at the best of times. So they're going to have to be careful. As you can see, Joaquin Coudray just going into that specific corner, makes it round there quite happily as well, and on his way again. But from our point of view, I think one of the things we're going to look forward to is if we're getting this overlap of classes. You know, we are on a long track, so in hindsight, there's going to be quite a few laps, Steve, before they, you know, get near each other. But they are going to come near each other within this 2 and 3/4 window almost of racing. So it's how they're going to handle that as well. And if they can catch them on the straights, they'll do well. If they catch them towards the end of the lap through the curves and that run through Corvette curves, Porsche curves and around Maison Blanche before they get into the Ford, it's going to be very difficult for them to overtake. So traffic management and catching traffic in the right place is going to be key here as well.
Certainly is, yeah. And as you mentioned there, with the runs from through the Porsche curves down to the Ford chicanes, then back onto the pit straight, that's a very tricky place to make an overtake there. Slightly easier in this version of the track compared to the modern one, but even past beyond that, turns 1 to 5 as well. Very tricky to get any kind of move in there as well, and very tricky also to keep it steady and planted through those corners as well. It's, if you make a mistake there and end up with a bit of a snap of oversteer that you've got to correct, then you can very quickly find somebody up your inside that you didn't want there. And people are going to have to be very careful, especially with the difference, like you say, in the classes. 4 different classes racing here on this circuit today. We're going to see definitely some backmarkers and some overtakes between classes as well. We also might see as well, as you can see, last time I was here commentating on this as well, one of those AM guys maybe causing a bit of an upset, getting quite high up in the Pro Series for their results as well. Just to manage, if you manage to carry along and stay with somebody alongside you here and get the tow down these massive long straights as we come down here into Mulsanne with a pack of 3 cars here. It's a very tricky corner, that one. It's downhill braking zone. It's a little bit off camber as you exit it, but it's on camber as you enter it. So it can be very tricky to get the weight to do what you wanted to do, as these cars are getting a little bit bumpy here and racy as they end up in the wall. And one
there
is doing
goes
backflip
Wayne
now.
Hutchinson.
So that kind of tells you a little bit what this track's going to be like, especially even on the straights, which aren't straight, because you were talking about Golf Corner there, which is turn 11, kind of coming down into Indianapolis. Another great overtaking spot. If you can get a good run through Mulsanne, then it's a great place to overtake there. But you're going to see this a lot as people squeezing each other on entry and exit and trying to make the most of the track there. And that can sometimes go a bit wrong, as we saw there in practice, thankfully. Get a bit too close for comfort, and it's very easy to spin off sideways, upside down, into a wall, start doing backflips. And in the dark as well. When cars doing backflips like that in the dark in front of you, it'd be pretty tricky to see them. You've got to hope that the headlights hit your windscreen, basically. Otherwise, so yeah, like avoiding some of those huge crashes that can happen here at Le Mans, we've seen many times in real life and in sim racing here at this track, is going to be a big part of the battle arena.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we were talking before about the CLR flipping over. Well, that was Wayne Hutchinson in the CLK flipping over. So, you know, George will be happy about the fact that we've distinguished the difference. You know, it was the CLR that went over in Le Mans before, but now this is obviously the Wayne Hutchinson CLK, and we did see it quite excitingly go up in the air. So, and also Ross Smith didn't even get out the pits at that point. He's just gone and stacked it as well.
I'm not sure how he did that. He managed to crash that car on a straight without any corner, any input whatsoever required. He still managed to crash it. I'm not sure what he's done there.
Oh,
but look at this, coming down the straight, nice and easy, and then just loses it. What on earth has gone on there?
I don't really want to imagine what's gone on there. I'm sure Ross probably doesn't want to imagine what went on there either. So, you know. Yeah.
I mean, he really wants to hope that doesn't happen to him in the race, because that is a very unpredictable place to put your car sideways. But somebody following him closely behind would not expect that in a million years. But, yeah, very difficult to see the cars in these conditions. But whether or not we're going to start the race in the night or start it in the day, confirm that beforehand. To see. We are going to have an orange flag as well. It should be worth mentioning there throughout the start of the race. So we're going to have a full formation lap, and then between turn 1 and 5 there'll be an orange flag. So I doubt we'll see many overtakes. It'll be single file for the start, and then once we're out onto that main straight, that'll be when the real racing begins. But yeah,
I think it's where the racing is, where it kind of almost starts. I think, doesn't it? I think that's going to be the situation. I think, you know, that these guys will be starting to get going, and they'll start getting to get moving. You know, we've just entered into that period of time now before we start going into qualifying. You can see the light change all of a sudden on your screen. I promise I did not hit a button. It did change to daytime. Okay, so don't think all of a sudden you've sat there and your eyes have gone funky. It did go to daytime, and we have got the first cars out on track currently here at the moment.
A bit of a traffic jam in the pits there as it stands, actually. But yeah, as everybody trying to come out at once. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it works like in iRacing with an R-factor, whereby you can't hit each other in the pits. You would hope so, because that would make it very difficult. But here's the first man on track in a very blue and white Ukrainian-style livery. Looking very pretty indeed. And then we've got Ross Smith there as well, in that very pink, very bright pink Mercedes as well. So sorry, that is the Chevrolet, I believe. Actually.
Yeah, it's the
pink.
Yeah, Marcos LM600 there for Ross Smith. So he's out on track currently at the moment as well. And these are obviously the LMGT2s out on track first for quali before we get the LMGT1s. So yeah, these guys are going to be interesting, I think, as well, how this one's going to work out. If you had to sit back and pick a winner, Steve, where would you pick them?
I would probably have to go back to the looking at the championship as it stands, really, and for the the best of the best, the creme de la creme, I'd probably have to go with Dahlgren again. Bräune is here, I believe, but I can't see his name, so he maybe not be here. So I think Magnus Dahlgren is favourite for the pros in the GT1s, in the Toyota GT1 particularly. He's looking very pacey in practice already. And Becky Ely is currently looking absolutely rapid in the amateurs as well. 3 wins on the bounce. She looks likely to make it 4, but there's probably going to be a few people there to ask questions of that as well. But it's going to be an interesting one because this is a different kind of track to any other track really in the series. We've had Daytona, Sebring, Oschersleben and Silverstone and Hockenheim so far, but this is a different kettle of fish. This is a much more technical track than any of those, I would say, and a lot easier to make a mistake that can ruin your entire race.
Yeah.
This one is not kind of run off at Silverstone.
No, you know, they've got gravel. You can see here with Ross Smith, he's got gravel on beside him as well, and I think there's just going to be a lot involved in this. I think they've got to be looking at the long haul. Well, watch the cars go up over at the crest at the moment. They will take off as they go the other side, and the camera should change over just as he's coming over, and we see they get a little bit of a jump. There you go, the car behind, as you saw there as well. So they do lift off as well, so if they receive any damage going over that jump, that's going to be another problem for them. You know, they've got to be looking at what they're going to be doing there as well. I'm not saying they're going to lift because they're on a straight. Who's going to do that? Nobody. They're racing drivers. They're crazy if they want to do that. But they've also got to be a little bit careful of damage going over there as well.
Yeah, and the other side of it as well is that what about the damage and how it's going to affect the weight transfer of the car. If you've got maybe a bit of front wing damage or rear wing damage there over that crest, then it could cause you major issues in terms of the car's handling and maybe send you into a wall somewhere there as well. This is an endurance race after all as well, and yeah, it's very unlikely that you don't see anybody with a little bit of damage somewhere. The curbs here, it's particularly in Indianapolis and forget its name now, the other corner after it, Arnage as well. Those curbs can be problematic as well, as can the ones in the Ford chicane. Sometimes if you hit those the wrong way, it can really unsettle the car at the really wrong place as well. You don't want to be going slow to any of those hard to overtake places, such as the Porsche curves and the Corvette curve or Dunlop curve and into Tetra Rouge as well. If you're going slowly through there and the guy behind can't see you in time or judge the difference in speed in time, could very well easily plant right into the back of you.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing as well. You know, there's a lot involved in this circuit. There's a lot that they've got to get used to. There's a lot that they've got to be dealing with. You know, when you look at the bigger picture now, they're only just starting their qualifying lap. You know, they've been out on the track now for about 5 minutes and they're only just starting their flying lap. So it's going to be definitely a tough one here for these guys as well. So from Ross Smith's point of view, from the rookie monsters in the Marcos, he's only now just starting that fast lap. So he's got to try and put some time on the board here. And I think from our perspective as well, you know, they're not going to get long. It's going to be tough, but they've got to try and get as much of a time on the board, as much use to this track as possible. We've seen Ross have his own mishaps, some of them down a straight, which was really quite bizarre, to be entirely honest. It was one of the weirdest things I've seen for a while, how he just stacked it on a straight. But overall, these guys are going to have to be really, really careful. And I'm really looking forward to this. And I think there's been, you know, Dan was looking forward to this as well. And unfortunately, he's now got some issues at home with his electric. So unfortunately, he's not likely to be making it back. But I think that, you know, I think this could be really, really good. And I think it could provide us with some absolute epic action here tonight, Steve. Because at the end of the day, it's Le Mans. We're going to have a day and night cycle. And, you know, there's going to be multi-class racing involved. What more could you ask for?
Not a lot, to be honest, not a lot. But yeah, it is the favourite fruit of the... is lemon a fruit? Yeah, I think it is. Of the racing calendar, the Le Mans, the lemon. And it has always been an absolute classic of a track. And yeah, it never fails to disappoint in terms of drama and spectacle of racing as well. So a great one here, but like you say, it's very little chance to get it wrong. There's very little opportunity here in qualifying to get it wrong. You've got to pretty much send it on your first lap, because there's very little time to get it done. You've got 10-minute window here for the pros and 10-minute window for the AMs, I believe. And yeah, it's going to be tricky to get that, get on the ball and get on it straight away for qualifying for your very first lap. Ordinarily, most drivers like to set a little bit of a banker, get their eye in, to like just go nice and smoothly around the track a couple of times in order to find those limits, stretch the car a little bit, warm the tyres up. But here at Le Mans, you only need to half a lap pretty much to warm the tyres up, because you're going so fast down that back straight anyway into a very heavy braking zone. By the time you've hit that Mulsanne corner, it is pretty much all warmed up. But there is plenty of corners here where any tiny little mistake can cost you big, and is particularly in the Porsche and Corvette curves as well. It's important, very super important in those curves, particularly that turn 15 there, the first entry into the Porsche curve, to brake early and scrub the speed off so that you can then accelerate through the remaining corners. It's a little easier in this track layout than it is the modern one, those curves, because the exit is a little easier. That last left right, or right left I should say, is pretty much flat out, whereas in the modern cars it is pretty much flat out in the modern cars as well, but you kind of really got to be very careful through there in order not to lose it. You can get it flat out, but the Ford chicanes here as well, also a lot quicker than the modern version as well. Yeah, but we'll certainly see who's got the biggest cojones as they come through into the final sectors here, as Ross currently sitting on a 3:05. Purple sectors lining up his timing boards at the moment, but I believe that's because he's the first man out there on tracks. He's the first man to set these purple sectors. People behind looking to jump on that, but we'll probably see something in the region of a 46, 47 for qualifying here this evening. Rolling down in the last 2 minutes here, as guys will be looking to really set a great time, as Ross here looking very tidy as he comes through the Corvette curve, and Maison Blanche down now into the Ford chicanes, finalise his lap in that very beautiful pink and blue liveried car. See what kind of time he can do. It is a 4:06. Well, he's gone into a wall.
Yeah, he hit the wall there, did Ross Smith. Unfortunately for him, not ideal scenario, but he did manage to tap the wall, and unfortunately gave himself a 4:05.587 with Matthew Overton on a 4:04.274 currently. So a stellar job from Overton there, 1.3 back. JT Tammy 2.2 back behind that as well. Oh, Smith now going backwards, not ideal from Ross Smith. And I think I'm going to have a look and see if JT Tammy actually touched him then, because that's going to be an interesting one as well.
Certainly, well, yeah, you don't want to be touching anybody in qualifying, least of all. It's been pretty much a non-contact sport, this. Don't really want to be touching people. It's a £50,000 fine if you touch somebody else's car with your hand as well. Just ask Sebastian Vettel. But yeah, it looks like we're going to have... The times are a lot quicker than I expected, I have to say as well. But Overton currently leading the pack over Smith, over Tammy. 3 times set at the moment, and that's that for the time being. But interesting to see how this develops as qualifying goes on. Paolo Tempera out on track in his Chevrolet as it stands with a 4:06.391 target time for him. See what he can do. It really is about who can turn up and just put a lap in, essentially, in the classes here, as we are now on board with the amateur GT2s. Oh no, yeah. Sorry. On the left hand side we have full links. Yeah.
Okay, so we got the LMP, the LMs on waiting on track. They've just gone out currently at the moment. The LMGT1s have just started their out laps, of course. The other guys will be coming around finishing off theirs as well. Obviously a long lap here at Le Mans, so it's going to be a bit more difficult for these drivers to deal with. But they are now out on track. The LMGT1s, the likes of Adrian Rice is here as well. Magnus Dahlgren, Felipe Enrique, Daniel Kirby, Brian Hall, Joachim Coudray, Tom Lane, Ethan Funk, Victor Geneva, Timon Subic, Gilles Lalonde, Jason Wouters de Bruin and Alexander Schultz. So there we go, obviously in the LMGT2s. Matthew Overton, Ross Smith, Peter Meyer, JT Tammy are your top 4. Paolo Tempera and Filippo Marazzi is in the final 5th and 6th spot. So Adrian Rice here as well on your screen currently at the moment. Different scenario compared to what we had last time as well. So I think it's going to be definitely one that we're going to be looking forward to see how they get on here as well. And hopefully we should be able to see some nice, good racing, good, clean racing. Don't forget, guys, if you are here, let me know and see how you get on with this as well. Give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bells if you're on the CMS or the JBB YouTube channel, and let us know what you think of who's going to win here as well. So there we go. As we see, Gwilym Bank has just taken an off track there, and that is not going to be ideal for Gwilym Bank. I think he was taking it during practice as well. Gwilym Bank not ideal here. He had a bit of a rough practice, Steve, at the same time, as it's coming up just up over to the crest now. Up in the air he goes. Is he going to miss Hossein? Doesn't get it on the brakes, doesn't get it stopped. And unfortunately for him, he's in the gravel. So that's what's happened to Gwilym Bank.
Done a decent job to avoid the wall though. Gets onto that little bit of runoff that lets him get back on track, but that could be qualifying over for him if he's get very little chance to do another run. But he needs to get on. It's quicker than boots on. Get around the track quite quick. Start another one. Otherwise, he's going to run out of time relatively quick.
Yeah, it definitely is as well. So hopefully we'll see how that one gets on and see how it goes from there. It's going to be an interesting one here as well. The same scenario. They've got a long out lap, and then they've got to try and get obviously another lap in before the end of quali. Difficult, isn't it? It's almost, you kind of wanted to sit back and think, well, maybe for this one, the organisers might have organised a longer quali, so giving everybody 15 minutes so they can at least get the issue with 2 laps each.
It's a tricky one, really, because obviously you can't change things too much from race to race, but yeah, it's all about the length of the track, really. I mean, you could, like, it's similar with the Nordschleife. When you do the Nordschleife, sometimes you have to qualify a day in advance on iRacing, simply because it takes so long to do so. Otherwise, you just don't qualify at all, and everybody starts based on their rating in the game or something like that. But it gives it an additional challenge to the drivers, I think. I quite like this. I like the one-shot quali. I like means that it's all or nothing, and the pressure ramps up a little bit on you, and can't make a mistake. And if you make a mistake, we want to see that kind of thing as well. We want to see the quickest drivers start from the back, overtake everybody, or maybe get caught in traffic, get caught in incidents and things like that kind of thing. We want to see that drama, we want to see that entertainment, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether anybody gets caught up in any shenanigans, should we call it, at the start as well.
So do you wish for F1 was back on one lap quali?
I think F1, personally, like F1, the qualifying scenario as it stands at the moment is a bit flat and a bit boring. I don't quite think sprint race is the way to go, but it would be maybe entertaining if somebody was talking about, I can't remember who it was exactly, but within the F1 circles was talking about maybe letting everybody do a fast lap on their own, so that not 20 cars on the grid at once, all vying for track position and traffic and things like that. Well, I think that's part of the fun of qualifying as well. But it'd be interesting to see, like, it'd be very, very interesting to see if, I think we should always be moving it towards qualifying being the cars in the fastest possible state they could possibly be, in terms of setup and weight and things like that kind of thing. So that's what I want to see from qualifying personally. I don't know about you. I want to see the cars going as quick as they conceivably could around that track.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I think one-shot quali, you know, done, dusted. You know, give them a couple of runs if they really feel they want it. But I think overall, a one-shot quali is the way to go. I'm not a lover of the sprint. I've got to be honest. I don't really think it's ideal. But that's just me. I'm not, you know, a Formula One guru who's in charge of it and can make all the decisions. But I still believe that a one-shot quali would be better. You know, it brings a bit more. It always brought that kind of more spice scenario to it. Like, you know, he's got to get this lap right. They've got to find the gap. They've got to try and do the. And now they've just got 3 cracks on the whip, so you don't actually see the action until the third qualifying section anyway. So
Yeah, and that's it. It doesn't quite work out, does it? Because you've obviously got those guys at the top of the field who are always, like the Red Bulls and the Mercedes and the Ferraris, are always going to take it easy the first couple of rounds of qualifying. Q1, Q2, they're not going to try anything special. They might even go out on the mediums, you know, because they've got that pace over everybody else. And they're generally trying to use those runs as tester runs, really. And then the guys behind, obviously, the likes of Haas and Williams are pushing all out and struggling to get in there. But if it was all down to the one-shot quali, you'd have really mixed up grids. And I think that's what makes qualifying entertaining, personally, is the mix-up of the grids.
Yeah, I've got to agree as well. It's, one shot for me here as well. Magnus Dahlgren is going quicker in Sector 1. He's got purple on the board currently, but he does have a car in front of him. So that's going to be interesting. And there's Becky Ely there in front of him currently at the moment. So it's going to be how they get on. Now, maintaining this, Dahlgren obviously looking quick, and Ely's sitting there as well. I know it's a long old lap here, so they have got a little bit of time to try and get these laps underway. I think, Steve, that's one of their main focus points, is trying to just get a lap in, isn't it, really, when you practically only got one lap to try and get on the board.
You've also got the added complication of traffic here as well. You're going to try and make an overtake here, as Dahlgren is finding out here. Currently in the Porsche curves, as he gets on the curve a bit there, gets a bit of grass, puff of smoke from the inside there, as he gets very out of shape in those, but manages to recover it well. And another snap there of oversteer from the red car there, following very close to Becky Ely, like you say, as he gets to the grass on the exit there. But I think that's a normal place to get on the exit. Just using all of the track. Is he going to go for the movement in the forward curves? Yes, he looks like he is. He's gone to the inside, but backs out of it, and is happy to just slot in behind. But Becky Ely, like on a lap as well, does not want to move for him at all. Like, needs to get her good lap in also, as we get the time there on the board. But Kirby currently in the field 3:41.9. Dahlgren with it 3/10 below that there. So then Becky Ely goes off the track. I don't know if that was contact or not. It's difficult to tell. Spinning through the gravel she goes, and Dahlgren P2 dissatisfied with that, but still in contention on the front row. And after we get round turn 5 and the race begins proper, he'll be looking to maybe get in front from an early stage and hang on to that lead for a long time. But it's going to be a long race, long way to go, and a lot of racing to be had. So you need to be patient. Let's do some of the others. There's a few here that maybe haven't had qualifying all their own way. Some people not setting times at all. Some people setting very slow times. As times are coming, I think, fast. 1 minute remaining of qualifying here at VWSC Le Mans. And De Bruyne is here. He's in P5 at the moment, 1.2 seconds off the pace. So there's an interesting battle that we'll keep focused on. Him and Dahlgren are currently fighting tooth and nail for this championship. Still only halfway through this 13 race championship. As things stand, as we're in round 5 of 13, starting to get to that stage where if you haven't got the points on the board by now, it's starting to get to the business end of the season where you start getting those results in thick and fast. Enrique currently P3, Rice P4, De Bruyne P5, Hall P6. Hall, I believe, is in a different category to those above him and around him. Oh no, sorry, Brian Hall P9 currently in Pro category of the GT1. Becky Ely without a time as it stands, and on board with Philip Enrique here with the Toyota GT1, one of my favourite cars in motorsport. This Toyota GT1 absolutely demolished the field, I believe, when it was around back in the 90s.
Yeah. It's a good car, to be fair, and I think from Enrique's point of view in that GT1 as well, the qualifying has come to the end. We'll wait for these guys to go over before we bring you up the results, of course. Once more, we'll be able to bring you up the grid, and it's going to be interesting to see how these all work out. We've got 1 to 9 are the LMGT1 Pros, then from 10 to 12 we got the LMGT1 AMs, and then we've got a few Pro, and then we've got Coudray Pro, Miller AM, Lalonde Pro, Benk AM, Whitehead Pro, and then Mountjoy is an AM at rounding it off as well, as Enrique's now going to spit up on the grass here as well. So let's see how we all get on once more here as we go into this final bit. We'll have a bit of a brief chat beforehand, and then we'll be race underway once more at Le Mans for the 2.4 hours of Le Mans live on the CMS and the JBB YouTube channels. As I say, if you are here, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us. Come and say hello and let us know who you feel is going to win for this absolute unbelievable action here as well. One that I think definitely is going to be exciting, and one that can basically provide a lot of action. So yeah, it's going to be good here as well, and one that I think is definitely going to be worth watching here, Steve, and I'm looking forward to it here myself.
Absolutely fantastic racetrack for this kind of thing. I mean, endurance racing was invented here, was it not? I mean, this is the famous scene of that Ford versus Ferrari film that's out about now. I still haven't seen that. Still haven't managed to get that. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but it looks absolutely ripping entertainment, that film. Based very much around this track and the battle between Ford and Ferrari at the Le Mans 24 Hours, and how that worked out. And it was back in the old days, that was when people used to have to run to that. You started without the seatbelt on. You had to run to your car, get in the car, start the car, get out the pits before everybody else, and it used to be absolutely manic. But yeah, it still is fairly manic, as obviously things have improved drastically since those days, and definitely in terms of safety. We were talking about this before the race, in terms of how Grosjean survived that F1 crash. But Le Mans still has a good safety record over the years, nonetheless. Probably because they got rid of things like running to your cars, and yeah, I imagine a few drivers probably didn't even bother putting their seatbelt on. But here we have the standings as they are. If you want to go through those for us, James.
Yeah, Dan Kirby is in first, Dahlgren second, Enrique is in third, Adrian Rice fourth, Wout de Bruyne fifth, Brian Hall sixth, Suvik seventh, Wayne Hutchinson, there is the leader of the LMGT1 AMS, is in eighth place, Victor Janiba in ninth, Ethan Funk is down in 10th. George Andalides 11th. Joachim Coudray in 12th. Barry Dimarzo 13th. Stephen Miller 14th. Gilles Lalonde 15th. Gwilym Bank 16th. Whitehead 17th. And Mountjoy rounds off the final LMGT1s. In the LMGT2s, it's Matthew Overton in 19th place. Peter Meyer in 20th. That's the LMGT1 2 AM and the LMGT2 Pro on the front row for them. And then beyond that, we've got Peter Meyer, Ross Smith, JT Tammy, Paolo Tempera, Filippo Marazzi, Tom Lane, Alexander Schultz and Mike Olsen. Tom Lane, Olsen and Schultz did not get a time in here, and well, they're going to have to be a little bit more careful as it goes on. But I think overall it's going to be an interesting one once more, and one that I think is going to be incredible. So let's see how they all get on here as well, as we're just now in that brief little warm-up bit, and the driver briefing will be kicking off, and yeah, and the briefing is underway, so we will be up on, they'll be gridding up very, very shortly here once more, and I think it's going to be exciting, let's put it that way. What do you reckon, Steve? An exciting one here this evening?
I think there's going to be a fair few overtakes and some very brave sends as well. There's some areas here in Le Mans that you really don't want to be going side by side with. So it'll be very much who's got the biggest cojones when it comes into those. If you're going side by side into one of those areas, such as the Porsche curves, something like that, then who's going to back out? If nobody backs out, could both end up in the wall. So I get the feeling we might see a little bit of drama along those lines for sure. Look forward to a very entertaining race.
A little bit of drama. I do love the philosophy.
We all love
the philosophy.
We all
just a little drama. We might say
just a little pinch of saltiness, and that's what we want to see, don't we? Like it's not going to be exciting racing unless people get their elbows out, get a bit tasty coming into places like Mulsanne. Going side by side into that braking zone can be very tense, shall we say? And but yeah, covering the inside there should stand you in good stead there. But if you don't cover the inside, somebody sends it up the inside there, then that can be very scary as well. Indianapolis, another place that can be prone to a very brave overtake. If you let the car drift out wide around that final right hand there, you maybe need to lift a little bit, brake and lift a little bit for these days in these cars, and historic ones. But it might still be possible to kind of let yours drift out a little bit wider, get the inside line to Indianapolis, and just bully your way through there. If you get along the inside there and cause the other guy to back out, then it's very hard to keep your nose in there into Arnage. And that gives you a great run through the Porsche curves, Corvette curves, Maison Blanche, and the Forge Canes as well. You were ahead through that section, then you pretty much got the opportunity to create a gap, but people can't come back at you down that huge back straight there, the Mulsanne straight, as we're going to call it this evening.
Yeah, definitely.
But it should be an interesting one. 1906 this track was built, and it's been providing us with great entertainment ever since. What I say?
1906.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cars were barely invented before a Frenchman decided to start racing them around the countryside of France, you know?
Yeah, I know. Seems bizarre when you put it that way, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So, you know, but overall, I think Le Mans is Le Mans, right? We all know that it's an epic circuit. We all know what sort of racing it can provide. It doesn't always provide the best. It can be just sometimes a draft fest, backwards and forwards, or it might not be anything. So it's going to be a tough one, I think, here to really see how they're going to get on and how they're going to cope with it and the way this circuit, this makeup is. So I think overall, yeah, it's definitely got a lot of things involved. We've got 28 cars on track, so they're going to have to be relatively mindful about that as well, as at the end of the day, there's a lot more cars here to get round. I think overall, though, should it be a good race? In hindsight, yes. Can it not be a good race depending on what happens? Absolutely. There's a lot involved with Le Mans. And I think that these drivers are just going to have to keep it easy. First few laps, settle down, get the car warmed up, know where you're going to hit, and go on from there. Because, as I say, 2.5 hours times 10. So they're going to be over having a night and day cycle. So, yeah, let's see how it goes.
We will not settle down.
Oh, hello, young sir. As we're joined in the booth
Sorry,
by Mr.
just,
Smith there.
Yeah, sorry to pop in unannounced. Just wanted to, first of all, thank you guys for coming in here and doing this very long race, and give a brief mention about the upcoming 4.8 hours of Le Mans for the Modern Series that will be taking place on June 3rd. So it should be a good one, and it will be driver swaps and mayhem and all kinds of fun stuff, and everyone will be very tired by the end, but should be good.
Okay.
Sounds very entertaining. Sounds very good. As does this event here that we've got in front of us also. But yeah, thank you very much for that, Ross. Brilliant stuff. Paul Racing in the chat is also saying historical cars, historical track, historical events. Let's go. Which is brilliant to see. Thank you for your support there, Paul. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Anybody else is watching and wants to get involved in chat, please do.
Yeah, definitely that as well. So it does look like we have unfortunately lost Dan for the duration of this. I know he's having a bit of electrical issues going on that may have involved a child with a hose pipe and water. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like an ideal mix, let's put it that way.
No, it definitely doesn't.
Yeah,
but, you know, you release a kid with a hose pipe and he may or may have not squirted it into a charging plug. So, yeah, I don't think Mr. Dan Peebles is going to be back or going to make this evening. I've got to be honest, it's never good.
If there was ever an advertisement for contraceptive, there it is.
Oh, Steve! No. You can't
But
say
yeah,
that.
I mean,
you can't say that. Oh, God blimey. Moving on rather swiftly, Mr. Carabellas. God blimey. You know, just wait for this warm-up period. The guys, they are all having a chat now as well. Oh, but yeah, probably best.
Yeah,
keep a hosepipe away from
back
the child.
on board with Le Mans anyway. Yeah, I mean, as I was mentioning before, that Ferrari versus Ford film that is out at the moment with Matt Damon starring Christian Bale also. I think he was Christian Bale in the Ferrari. Could be wrong about that, but looks absolutely fantastic, does it not? I would very much like to see that film. I have yet to see it, though. But, racing films, I believe there's another F1 film coming out soon with Brad Pitt involved, I believe.
Yeah, I've heard about this. Isn't he driving a car, if I'm not mistaken?
I think somebody was mentioning that he was recently in an F2 car around one of the tracks at Baku, I think it was he? I'm not sure. One of the tracks that F1 has just been to. He was out there racing it as well. And I also seem to I remember watching something with Tom Cruise also driving an F1 car around Silverstone, I believe. Surprised he hasn't done any kind of F1 car film. It's the kind of thing that he would do just so he can get himself in an F1 car to do the stunts, because that man, 50 odd years old, and he's jumping off cliffs in on motorbikes and things like that. A bit.
Yeah, he does his own stunts, doesn't he? 90%
A lot
of
of
the
them,
time,
yeah.
doesn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of them, not all of them, because obviously, you know, the insurance companies get involved and say, we're not insuring Tom Cruise to jump off this or that, or into this or that.
Well, there was
but,
that shot
yeah,
of him hanging off the aeroplane, that big Hercules.
Oh yeah, he did that. That was crazy.
Yeah,
That was
to be
crazy.
fair, how much more does he need to do for an insurance company not to insure him due to the fact that he was hanging off the aeroplane by a tether that could have seen Tom Cruise terminate himself?
Pretty much. I mean, bird strikes are fairly common, especially on takeoff as well. And if a bird hits him in the face, doing 120 miles an hour as you take off in a Hercules, there won't be much Tom Cruise left.
Exactly.
You know? But Jackie Chan can't get insurance for any of his films. I don't know if you know this, because he obviously does all of his own stunts. You know, Jackie Chan has broken more bones than I've had hot dinners, and he doesn't get any insurance for anything. So he's got to pay for any injuries out of his own pocket. But obviously, the man's a multi-millionaire many times over, given the success in the film industry he's had. But yeah, he can't get insured. So, you know, Tom Cruise, I wonder if it's because Tom Cruise doesn't get hurt in any of it. Maybe. But you know, I get the feeling one day maybe we'll see that headline, Tom Cruise injured in an F-16 fighter pilot or some other crazy stunt that he's been pulling. But yeah, that was one absolutely amazing one for the Mission Impossible, hanging off the side of a Hercules.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
And getting insured for it in the process. Can't be bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, somebody insures me to drive, and I think that's a big mistake.
well, yeah. I mean, they do say, though, don't they? Because obviously, you know, myself heading away over the next, on Monday. So they do say if you make it to the airport, you've done the most dangerous part of your journey.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
what they say.
I actually studied aerospace engineering for many years of my life, and it's actually one of the safest ways to travel is aeroplane. Much safer than cars.
Yeah, considering the amount of aeroplanes that are in the sky above Heathrow and stuff, you would have thought there'd been a bit more incidents. But hey, look, I'm happy. Right? If there ain't an accident while I'm on my little Ryanair plane going out to, you know, Girona, I'm more than happy about that. Now, the drivers are just working out their grid bots, guys. If you're wondering what they're doing, basically within R-Factor, they do end up doubling up on grid slots. So if they don't work out who they're next to, the last thing you really want to do is coming to into the pits together, because one of you is not going to be able to get in your grid slot properly. So they're trying to work out who they're next to, or if they're what's going on, basically, to be able to then figure out, okay, so I'm next to Bob or Bill or John or Fred or Bert or whoever. So I know that when I'm going in, I can just say, hey, Bob, I'm going in, or Bill, I'm going in. So they don't end up clashing. But unfortunately for R-Factor 2, it does have this tendency to double people up. That's why you can see 2 banks of 2 there in this session. And then you can see it with, obviously, Daniel Kirby is got a lone grid slot. But I think the likes of JT Tammy, I believe, is it Ross Smith, have doubled up. So they've got a bit of a double up as well. So, you know, they've got to all just work out who they're next to, what the situation is. Can they come in cleanly on their own? Is there going to be a problem? And work it all out from there. So if you're wondering what they're doing, that's basically what they're doing. As you can see, a car right next to us there as well. That's Alexander Schultz, currently in the Mercedes, and there's the other Mercedes next to him as well. Jason Whitehead, or Whitehead. So yeah, so that's what they're trying to work out. All right, so don't think that they're just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, just making chaos in the pit lane. They're not. They are doing something constructive to it, so make it a little bit more straightforward.
I've only been to a track once, and the pit lane was very much chaos the entire time I was there, running back and forwards all of the time with parts, tyres, and this, that, the other, just nation. So chaos, definitely a fitting word for a pit lane, but yeah, like you say, everybody just working themselves into the right grid slots. But this will be the time when everybody's just trying to basically relax a little bit, trying to clear their minds and focus mainly on that first set of corners. Essentially, you want to make sure that these endurance races that you start off nice and calm and clean. You want to be in a nice frame of mind as the drivers currently work their way around the grid.
And there is a recap of the results. Daniel Kirby is on pole with Magnus Dolger in second. Felipe Enrique third, Adrian Rice fourth, Wout de Bruin fifth, Brian Hall sixth, Timon Suvic seventh, Wayne Hutchinson eighth, Victor Geneva in ninth. Ethan Funk does round out the top 10. So once they're all lined up, ready to go as well, it should be an exciting one, and one that I'm drastically looking forward to. Got 8 minutes left of the warm-up before we go into the race, so we will try and bring you up the grid as a recap once more as well. I hope everybody is well on this fine Saturday. I am wonderful. I've got 2 days left before I'm leaving on a jet plane, which I might add was predicted to be raining all week. At the same
You're going on holiday. You're going on holiday to Italy to spend the entire 2 weeks in rain. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I'm off to Spain, so let's make sure I'm going to the right country first. But apparently,
I don't know where I got Italy from.
I'm not really sure. I'm sure I've mentioned Spain quite a few times. So apparently, I'm flying out on the Monday, which is raining. Tuesday's the sun. Wednesday's rain. Thursday's rain, and Friday I'm coming back in with rain. Now, what makes that worse, right? And I say this partly because of obviously we're in the UK and we don't really get much sun. However, next week, check this out. Monday, 21 degrees. Tuesday, 19 degrees. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 20 degrees in the UK. And I'm leaving the UK to go to Spain to get more sun. However, I'm going to face UK weather out in Spain. So I'm not overly impressed currently at the moment.
Imagine how all the fellow holiday goers are thinking that you're bringing the British weather with you to Spain, and you know, like,
I know
you just paid a fortune to go out there to get a bit of sunshine, get on the sun loungers, and you're going to be sat in the bar under the umbrellas. Ooh, that's a big slide.
Yeah, not ideal there either. Unfortunately, that was Jason Whited. Yeah, so you're paying to go out and get sun, and then you're doing nothing more than sitting under an umbrella. But I have said, because it's just me and the wife, so we have said we are going to go out and just ignore the rain, which is
just pretend it's not there.
Yeah, you know, while you've got it dripping down in your eyes and, you know, making all your clothes wet, we're going to ignore it. We're going to literally just try and enjoy the weather. But I might say one thing as well. It has cleared up, because Tuesday, when it is supposed to be sunny in Spain, it was supposed to be raining. That's what it was yesterday. So if there's sun, I'm hoping a few more days might be coming of sun. Because
you've got to take the little wins where you can, really, don't you?
Oh, mate, yeah, that's the day I'm going to go out running around in Speedos on the beach. You know what I mean? And that's worrying for the best of times.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how I'll ever get that image out of my head, to be honest.
Well,
but,
you know, I don't want to give you no dreams or anything. They're more probably likely to be nightmares.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's strange that you say that as well. It's the temperatures that you were saying there as well. 21 degrees in England, 22 degrees, 19 degrees. Those are the kind of temperatures that were... Last time we were on holiday, me and the missus went to Greece. We were in Athens, and the one sunny day that it was there, we went in the middle of February because it was cheaper, and also got family over there, so I get free accommodation, etc., etc. So in the middle of February, it was 21 degrees when we went to go see the Acropolis. We went on the sightseeing tour of the Acropolis, went to see the Parthenon and a couple of things around there and around about that area. And it was 21, 22 degrees, so we went out in shorts and t-shirt, you know, looking like a very sunny day, and we're wandering around Athens in the middle of February, and everybody's wearing scarves and big duffel jackets and things like that, hats and stuff. And looking at us like we were absolutely mad because it was 21 degrees and we're out there in t-shirts. And I have to say, I felt cold.
Yeah, I think that's
ordinarily that's beach weather in the UK. Is there's a Mercedes going the wrong way there, and that's don't want to be in that gravel. He's very lucky not to get sucked into the wall there, hitting the gravel there, I have to say, but he's managed to save it.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing as well, because on Wednesday we've got an open topped bus tour of Barcelona. But, that's not a good way to enter the pit lane. So we've got an open-topped bus tour in Barcelona on Wednesday, when it's supposed to be absolutely chucking down. Well,
eat lots of beans beforehand and turn it into a little jacuzzi.
Oh, mate,
top row with it.
no, it's going to be a nightmare. I'm producing my own bubbles. But I'm just hoping, you know, it's a hop on, so you can just hop on and off and on and off whenever you want. You're not stuck on the bus for an hour. You just get on and off as the day goes on. So if there's somewhere you want to go, you jump on the bus, go over to that bit, jump off, go back on to, you know, see that bit for a bit, jump on the next one, and around you go again. A friend of my wife's booked it for us, because it's my wife's birthday on the Monday when we fly out. So they booked it as a birthday present for her. So obviously, completely unaware that it's going to absolutely chuck it down on our barnets. But
you never know.
No, I'm praying, sir. I've got to be honest. First holiday in about 18 months where we've actually, you know, not gone camping. So, and obviously since starting JBB, it's been a bit manic. So it's my first break I've managed to have. So we're hoping it's a good one. But we are just coming towards the end of warm-up, guys. We're not just waffling on about random things here. There's a lot of jiggling around at the moment. Bear with this track and car scenario. Hopefully it will settle down. Before we go into the race. Everybody is currently in the garage at the moment, so let's see.
I'm wondering how much starch they put in their flags when they wash them over there in the background. Those 3 French flags look very stiff. Maybe no wind here in Le Mans.
Yeah, definitely. No wind whatsoever. But, you know, just have to see how it gets on. And
see cars fill up the grid now. Weather-wise, here at Le Mans looks very sunny, as it does in the game, but we have got weather in our factor too, but I don't believe we're going to have much of it here. It's an interesting factor that we haven't touched on as well. When it comes to the night and the day, obviously the track temperature varies greatly between the two, and I think the colder the track temperature, the better the grip is for your tyres, up to a point, and obviously hotter. You want to be in a nice window, really, for the tyres, but during the day, when the sun comes out, the track gets a little bit hotter. Maybe you lose a little bit of grip in certain places that you didn't expect, and adapting to those conditions is going to be vital for these guys to get a good result. Yeah, they've been doing it so far.
Yeah, Daniel Kirby, Magnus Dahlgren 1 and 2, Felipe Enrique in 3, Adrian Rice 4, De Bruyne 5th, Brian Hall 6th, Wayne Hutchinson 7th, Victor Geneva in 8th place currently at the moment there as well. Ethan Funk in 9th, Barry Dimarzo 10th, George Antolidis 11th, Joachim Coudray is in 12th place. And then moving on from that one, Becky Ely and Stephen Miller 13th, 14th, Gilles Lalonde and Jason Whitehead 15th and 16th in the Panos and Nissan R390 there. On from them, Gwilym Bank and Alexander Schultz 17th, 18th, Tom Mountjoy 19th, Matthew Overton leading the LMGT2's pros there, and Peter Meyer leading the LMGT2 AMs, Ross Smith in 22nd, Tuyo JT Tam in 23rd, Paolo Tempera in 24th, Felipe Marazzi in 25th, Tom Lane 26th, and Mike Olsen is the last man in 27th place. So there we go. It's all going to be now how this goes in the race, and I think it's going to be an exciting one.
Those nerves will be reaching their peak point at the moment for the drivers, and they'll be very scared about getting into any kind of shenanigans on the first lap, especially in that orange zone. We're going to have a full formation lap here, and then it's going to be orange zone between turn 1 and 5. So until you get to that main straight, essentially, after you go around Tertre Rouge. Yeah, nerves are going to be palpable at the moment. You're going to be able to cut tension with a knife. People will be very quickly forgetting all of those news. As soon as those lights go green, it all goes out of the window, and you are 100% just focused. As the cars start moving for the formation lap, we're going to get underway very soon.
Yeah, we've got a long old way to go, mind you.
Oh yeah, 4, 5 minutes, 6 minutes or something for this formation lap. For sure, it's going to be a long one. It'll be interesting to see if there's any incidents or crashes on the formation lap as well. I want to avoid that. So a few crashes there in the warm-up, suggesting that some people still haven't quite yet found the limits. And also saw a couple of people tripping over each other there. We saw in the entry to the pit entry there as well, one of the faster class cars getting caught up on one of the slower class there, trying to go around the outside of it, come back onto the line to go into the pits. Didn't quite work out. It's going to be a tense lap this really for all the drivers involved. There'll be a few out there who will be wanting to get a shift on pretty quick. Mainly of De Bruyne in P5 at the moment. He wants to challenge for this title, I'm sure, and his current nearest rival, Dahlgren, is in P2, so he's got some positions to make up.
Yeah, it definitely has here as well. So let's see how it all gets on. But it's going to be exciting. You just got to sit back, enjoy this, grab your drinks, get some popcorn, and just chill for the next 2 hours and 40 minutes here. So, you know, should be a good one, and one that I'm definitely excited about here as well. Green flag man on the left hand side waving there quite happily as Dan Kirby goes through before we head off. There's the look at that long old straight down what is technically the Mulsanne straight nowadays, more than what you would obviously original call it. It's the Hunadias. Hunadias?
Hunadias? I don't know.
Hunadias.
It's a strange language, French. Let's put it that.
Yeah, it's always a complicated one to get your teeth around, and your pronunciations right. Partly due to the fact of having past tense, then you've got present tense, and you've got third person, first person. It's all very difficult. So there we go.
I speak a little bit of Greek, a little bit of French, a little bit of German, but utterly unproficient in all three of those languages when it comes down to actually needing anything worthwhile in a normal day-to-day life. I can maybe order a beer in each one, and that's about it. Really, yeah. Maybe Greek stretches to a wine as well. But yeah, most European languages, I think once you learn one as well, European languages, especially Latin-based ones as well, it's very easy to continue and go on to learn the rest. My dad speaks 7 different languages, mainly because he started with Greek, learned English, and then went on to learn Portuguese, Italian, German, French as well. But, everybody's taking it fairly easy around on this formation lap as it stands. Nobody wants to get have any major issues on this formation lap. Sometimes cause major problems. I'm pretty sure damage will cause you problems on the formation lap. If you hit into a barrier, it will continue on into the race. You're simulating these races, not arcade racing. Yeah, so everybody wants to avoid damage as much as they can. It's going to cause huge problems, damage at this track, because these long straights, any kind of damage to your bodywork is going to cause major time loss down these straights, and probably going to have to come in to get that damage fixed ASAP.
I think that's what they've got to be careful for. They've got to be careful. Can't get damage. That jump there, where they're normally jumping up in the air, I think they're going to have to just kind of not, I wouldn't say jump, but just, you know, I don't want to say lift, but you've got to think of what damage that could do to the base of the floor. You know, when you're constantly putting the car up in the air. I've seen a road car lose half of his front end after trying a fancy jump, and it didn't go too well for his road car either. And he was probably going after the speeds of these guys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a few curbs here that maybe can damage the underfloors as well, as we've got a car going very wide there into the gravel after Mulsanne. It's going to be an incident-filled corner, this one here, Mulsanne, because it's the heaviest braking zone on the track, I believe. Downhill into a tight, almost a hairpin right-hander there, and very, very easy to lock up the brakes as you're entering there. Lock up the rears, and it'll send the back end flying past your front end before you blink as well. But it's such a hard track, this as well, and it's such high speed track in places as well. You've got these very flat run down into Indianapolis as well, but if you don't lift a little bit before you take that final right-hander there as well, it can very much unsettle the car, put all the weight in the wrong place before you have to brake hard for Indianapolis left-hander there as well. And that can cause major problems as well. And I imagine a few people are going to get caught out by some of the intricacies of this track for sure. Indianapolis seems as though it's got a lot more camber in this version compared to the modern version, I have to say as well. You can carry a lot more speed through there. Same with Arnage as well. A little more on camber than it is in the modern version, but the curbs are still deadly. You can't use as much curb on the exit of Arnage as you can in the modern version either, but definitely for sure the Porsche curves are still just as deadly as they have always been. The camber in those curves is a nightmare to get right as a driver. As you're driving through there, it is so much to think about as your car undulates from left to right, and if you don't have the weight in the right place at the right time, it puts you offline and makes you very slow through that time.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely, I fully agree. But for now, we've got all of these cars strewn down here. As you see there as well, 27 cars, I believe. I don't believe Victor Geneva is out on track. I've got this funny feeling he's not. No, he's not. So it is Felipe Marazzi is the last man on track, and Daniel Kirby will be the first. So there you go. And well, have you decided on who you think is going to win this overall or not?
I think it's got to be. I'm going to put my money on Dahlgren. Essentially, he's currently charging to a commanding lead in the championship. 7 points between him and his closest rival, De Bruyne, who starts today in P5. So I'm going to put my house on him today. But all he wants to do is make sure that he follows Kirby, and that Kirby has a nice clean lap in that Panos GTR1 as well. Not long before we get underway, but Kirby, for his part, he just needs to make sure that he's predictable, keeping his lines right, braking nice early. He needs to make sure on this first lap with the cold tyres, although maybe they've warmed up with this formation lap, but a slow lap doesn't get all of the temperature into the car that you need. But those orange flag zone down in the P5 might be all he needs. But if he makes a mistake in there, I don't think Dahlgren's behind is going to slow down and wave him on and say, yo, no, you take first place. But underway we go as they pass the finish line, and racing we are. And but yeah, as we say, orange zone into turn 5 where the real racing will begin. Come down into Dunlop curb, and Kirby already with a sizable gap behind. I think that is just Dahlgren and others just keeping their gaps nice and tasty, large as we move on. As a green car there going around the outside there, a bit early into the gravel, and that's Becky Eli getting very out of shape. Very unfortunate for her as she ends up losing position because of it, or maybe she's which position she gained by going off track. But already the drama starts. Already it starts. Yeah,
Matthew Overton leading the LMGT2s with Peter Meyer, Ross Smith as well. They are now obviously past that section where they are able to start putting in some beans and going over to try and get their overtake. It's going to be an interesting one. Daniel Kirby out in front already with Magnus Dahlgren about 7 tenths back. Currently at the moment, you see it there on the left-hand side, 1.9 to Enrique, 2.9 back from that as well. He's not going to be able to get him on this first section of the Mulsanne, but can Dahlgren make the move on the second section? That's going to be the interesting one. That first run was to get Dahlgren closer. That second one is he's going to try and make that move down into the Mulsanne as well. And there's action all the way back through the field currently at the moment, but it is Matthew Overton and the LMGT2s here clearing off down the road. He's got about a 1.1 second gap at the moment. Peter Meyer is a little bit closer with Paulo Tempelda right behind him, but Dahlgren's trying to look up the inside here as well. He's made the move first already, Steve, and he's through, which is where we said that second part of that Mulsanne was the one that was going to be the difference.
Yeah, certainly is. That left-hand chicane as you come down. Is he going to go back at him here into Mulsanne? I doubt it, but you get a lot of tow down these long straights here as we go over the jump. Let's see for the first time whether or not anybody lifts at all as they get that little jump there. As long as either of these guys did. And looks like Kirby happy to just sit behind Dahlgren for the time being and go for any untoward moves or dives down the inside into Mulsanne.
Yeah, Matthew Overton and Ross Smith were going closer together. The gap is down to about half a second at the moment. Smith, of course, in the Marcos. Overton in that Chrysler Viper. Do love a good Viper. They're jumping that quite happily as well. Smith's got to start looking, though. Going round the right-hander, onto the brakes he goes, trying to get that stopped. Does manage to get it stopped so far. So a great move there from Smith to try and get closer, but couldn't get that overtake done as well. Peter Meyer further back again, sitting in the lead for the LMGT2 AMS here, and at the moment it is Barry Dimarzo in the LMGT1. Now, if anybody remembers last time out of Hockenheim, Barry Dimarzo had an absolute awful race. I tell you what, I think it was even described at one point, watching Barry Dimarzo was like watching Disney on Ice. He just didn't seem to have any grip whatsoever, and he was just off. It was a horrendous one for Barry Dimarzo, but I'm so pleased for him that he's sitting here leading the front end now of the LMGT2 AMS as well. So not a bad start there as well. I want to have a look back at what Becky Ely got herself up to.
Yeah, that was an interesting one when she went off track. It was in the orange zone as well, so I imagine she maybe just got caught out by towards braking zone. But what have we got here in this
is
replay?
The replay of what Becky Ely got up to. And then I believe she's going to run wide. It's got a snap here. And hopefully see her go off track. This was, I believe, down into the forward curves. She just get a little bit out of control, out of shape.
I thought it was a little bit later than that, like, but maybe it's into this second set. But I thought it was in between turns 1 and 5 somewhere. I thought it was just after the donut curve, maybe. But yeah, orange zone as well. So maybe I'm wondering whether she just got caught out by an early break or something like that. But we'll come back to that if we get that replay sorted. But yeah, as it stands, still on track.
Yeah, Magnus Dahlgren out in front still with Kirby, Enrique Rice and De Bruyne behind him. So BrianB has also just gone off as well. He's having a bit of a rough time as BrianB. Can't seem to get hold of this track there. And unfortunately for him, not going too well currently at the moment. And neither is this wonderful replay section going on either currently at the moment. Yeah, this is where Bank went on. But yeah, all in all, a very nice, interesting start. And Dahlgren and Kirby's what position? Kirby's now got 1.5 back currently at the moment. With De Bruyne behind that has got Brian Hall there behind him as well. As these guys have still got 2 hours 17 minutes. Can you drive for that long, Steve? Could you drive for that long?
Well, I drove back from Manchester last week. That was about a 2.5 hour drive. But I mean, motorway driving is very different to this. I would much prefer to drive around Lemon for 2.5 hours than down the M62. But yeah, but Brian's going to get a move on here. He's got Clear Rice and board here with him in this black liveried car. Looking fantastic. He doesn't look like he's getting close enough to the back of Rice as it stands. And Dahlgren is just disappearing so far with this one. He's got past Kirby in short order and is already 2.5 seconds down the road. So huge win for him in terms of creating that gap. But it's a long way to go. Endurance race, 2.5 hours, like you say, still to go. 2 hours and 15 minutes on the clock there in the top left-hand corner. And lots to happen still. Any damage or anything like that or anything towards during this race could cause have major upgrades. We've also got traffic coming up later as well. It should be too long before they're overtaking some of the slower cars and people who have had little offs and little off-track excursions, maybe gone mowing the grass for a little bit. And you know, it'll be interesting to see. But currently, gaps starting to form as we see the differences between the drivers and the cars come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely as well here. Tom Lane is having a nice little battle with Stephen Miller. So a nice little mixed up battle with them guys as well. There is the tower currently in the multi-class. So in the LMGT1s is Dahlgren, LMGT1 AMS is Dimarzo, LMGT2s is Overton, and LMGT2 AMS is Meyer here as well. So a great job from all of these drivers for actually keeping it on track, should we say, because at the end of the day, it's always a tough one when you've got people racing side by side, and Le Mans is no different. Plus you've got 2 hours and 15 minutes of it. So I think that overall is going to be an interesting one here as well. That long battle, that long mental ability to maybe try and, you know, keep the car on track, to keep it going the right way. And if you're not loving the circuit, it's always going to be hard, isn't it, Stu?
Yeah, but I mean, this circuit is very easy to love. Those S's sections are some of my favourite in motorsport. I have to say the Porsche S's are very difficult to get right, and it's all about just making sure that you're not carrying too much speed into those and getting the line perfect. It's less about, you know, getting your foot flat on the throttle as early as you can, more about just making sure you've got the perfect line. And when there's drivers around you, that can be very tough. Like, you've got a guy breathing down your neck, you're just tempted to brake that little bit later, that little bit, take that car that little bit further each lap, and before you know it, you're in a barrier. And but yeah, overdriving the cars at this track, very easy to do, very easy to get the back end to slip a little bit, as these guys are getting very, very racy here as we come down into the forward curves. Is he going to go for the move? It looks like he's looking at the inside of the forward curves, but backs off for now. Purple car of Tom Lane. Oh, we've got somebody off there. Adrian Rice.
Yeah, Rice went off in the forward curves. This is it now. And unfortunately for him, he just lost it and went nose deep into the barrier. And unfortunately for Adrian Rice there, he's off track. So Gwilym Bank again. Bank is not having a good one. I don't really, poor old Gwilym Bank, he's missing, you know, quite a lot here. He's not having a good time. And here is Gwilym Bank. Again, it looks like the same scenario. Over he goes onto the gravel. And once more goes round. Unfortunately for Gwilym, not ideal. Not an ideal evening or start to a race that he would want. But it is Magnus Dahlgren out in front currently at the moment. Overton and Smith are nice and close together down in the LMGT2 AMS here. I think this one could be an interesting one here. Smith, you know, it's been a bit of a dark horse this season, I think. And you can get that idea from the way that obviously where he's sitting in the standings and all of that sort of stuff. And I think that he could be a bit of a dark horse for the victory here. And he is now just taken the lead over JT there as well and over Matthew Overton. So I think Smith could be a good shout.
Yeah, he's looking racy at the moment, and it didn't look like Overton was going to defend too hard against that. I don't think he could really do coming into the first chicane. He's going to get defensive here from the Ukrainian liveried car behind of Tammy, and but yeah, he's got work to cut out from here. Now he's stuck between two cars. This is one of the worst places to be in a race car, from my personal experience. You've got to really focus on that car in front. If they brake a little bit too early compared to you, you could very easily end up in the back of them. And you also got to think about not braking too early or too late yourself from the car behind, because if you brake too early yourself and lift too early to try and avoid that guy ahead, then the guy behind you might not think about that and go ploughing into the back of you as well. So it's a tense position for him, but it looks as though Tammy is taking things easy as it stands, doing the lifting in the right place. Anybody who doesn't know, if you're following a guy closely in an endurance race like this, it's a very good idea to lift just before the braking zones to give yourself that extra time.
Side by side currently are Overton and Smith. Overton's got the inside line. He's going to be making that move past Smith as well. Welcome in Aaron De Lima, Boreck. Hey guys, says Hill and Tony. Oh, like that name. That's quite funny. In YouTube chat as well. But we have just watched there Ross Smith get overtaken by Matthew Overton with JT Tammy behind him as well. And this is obviously what Tammy can see currently, the back end of that Marcos of Smith. And of course, here is Matthew Overton and JT Tammy. This is your top three currently on the LMGT2s, with Smith out in front on 26, Overton 23, and JT Tammy on 20 points. Coming to now, got a dip in the inside, get it on the gas he goes. Oh, a little bit of a correction there from JT Tammy. Is that Arnau's Indianapolis section really as tough as what it looks?
Oh, that Indianapolis corner is very tough, and it got even harder in the modern version, I believe, as well. But it's still no corner not to be trifled with, and the barriers are so very, very close around this sector of track as well. But you're seeing here these guys all fighting tooth and nail already in this endurance race. 2 hours to go, 2 hours and 10 minutes to go, and they're already having too much fun racing each other here. As we saw there, Overton taking back the lead of the LMGT2 race here from Ross Smith. Ross Smith won't be giving this up too easy. They'll be looking to get back at him. Probably down in the same place, down into Mulsanne, as a brave move, a brave pass there from Overton, say into Mulsanne. Getting on the brakes a little bit later than his run.
Yeah, we're now on board with George Angelidis, who is chasing down Barry Dimarzo here as well for the LMGT1 AMS. Angelidis does go through, takes a move nice and clean over Dimarzo. Dimarzo looked like he did back off a little bit there, I'm not going to lie, but I do want to have a look and see what Dimarzo sees. Well, this is what he sees currently at the moment, the red and yellow of Angelidis behind him. So there we go. It should be a nice little run down if he can, and maybe get that gap closed up. But Barry Dimarzo did look like he lifted there, which is a little bit strange, really. I would have thought he would have been a bit more defensive.
Well, speaking from personal experience in endurance races, I would say that sometimes it's better not to lead. The lead car gains certain advantages, but the car following gains even more, especially in endurance racing. You're allowed to lift a little earlier and still carry that speed down these long straights because of the tow that you're getting. You can brake a little bit earlier, and that all saves you time and tyres and fuel, and allows you to kind of think about your strategy as well. You've got a guy in front of you picking the lines out, and that guy then has the added pressure of having somebody behind them and worrying about them as well. So here in this situation, maybe he's just giving him the lead of the race. The guy in front gets clean air, so in a downforce car, that means quite a bit of extra lap time, especially in the corners, because the dirty air in the corners is going to mean the guy behind is a little bit slower. That guy in front, having that clean air pouring over his car, means he's got more grip. But down those long straights, he's got more drag as well. So big long straights here at Le Mans as well means that he's taking the brunt of the drag from the guy behind. The guy behind can sit in that little hole and just follow along and keep things nice and
Yeah, definitely there as well. We have lost Timon Subic. Now this is why I went for an air-cooled PC, right? Timon Subic, his water cooler on his PC failed.
oh,
Now,
that's not good.
water in electric in a PC is why I went for an air cooler, because that just didn't sound right to me, sticking water in a PC. But Timon Subic has unfortunately had a water cooler failure in his PC and is now unfortunately out there as well. So it's going to be a tough one and for him, but yeah, not an ideal scenario.
Certainly not. No, it's definitely air cooled at my PC as well. That's more to do with my budget rather than what's actually best. But yeah, water cooler. I've never built a PC with water cooler. I built all my own PCs, and it scares me that, you know, like every time I turn a PC on just with air cooling on, I've always got my fingers and my ears hiding behind the settee, waiting for it to blow up. So I can't imagine what it would be like with water cooling in there as well.
That would be a panic for me. Not ideal. I don't want water coolers. Oh, Dimarzo runs in hot. We're on board with him. Is he going to keep it? No! Oh, he didn't. Unfortunately there as well. But Barry Dimarzo, he didn't go too well. There was people involved in that one. We can have a look back at that one now. Here comes Barry Dimarzo. He caught somebody else up in the process. He goes over the gravel, can't stop the car spins, and then, oh, was that Peter Meyer? It wasn't Meyer, or Tempera. It wasn't JT. Who did he catch on that one? Was that there as well? But yeah, not ideal there from Barry Dimarzo.
The orange liveried car behind as well, and had to kind of squeeze through him and the gravel to get past. But I don't really think he had anywhere else to go. He couldn't reverse him off the track. There's a barrier right behind him. But rejoin that maybe could warrant a penalty later on, because obviously he's affected two other people's races there. Not their fault by any stretch of the imagination, but action still going on here with Ross Smith trying to get back the lead in his category here in the LMGT2 pros as well. So more action, more racing. It's non-stop here at Le Mans. As drama-filled race it's going to be, really is. It's got to be. It's Le Mans. It's got to be drama-filled, isn't it? There's got to be action. There's got to be salt. There's got to be, you know, I mean, there's everybody in VC together here in this race, all 27 of them, and I imagine there's a few choice words being exchanged between a few of the drivers throughout these races.
Yeah, it does as well. Hill and Tony in chat. We sim racers feel like the real deal because of guys like you. Thank you so much for your kind words there. And Ben Pop, George and Barry are teammates. They drive well together and tend to be sensible with long-term pace rather than racing each other. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what George must have been thinking there at the moment that Barry Dimarzo was spinning around in front of him, apart from how I'm going to need some brown pants. Going to need some new pants after that. But yeah, because it could have been that obviously Barry Dimarzo caught George Angelidis at the same time. So George just managed to squeeze through and did manage to survive there as well. So an ideal job for him. But yeah, not. I wouldn't like to have been George Angelidis at the same time I saw Barry Dimarzo going around the side of the circuit, because that could have just been completely and utterly horrendous. So there we go. Gilles Lalonde has been off. Ross Smith did go off, but he's now didn't lose too much time. He's sitting in second place there, still behind currently Matthew Overton, with JT Tammy behind them in the LMGT2 here as well with the pros. In the AMS, it is Peter Meyer by 16 seconds down the road for Paolo Tempera behind that as well. So we have a little speak to Geneva. Mike Olsen has not finished either, and I've got a funny feeling this could be what Mike Olsen has been up to.
Yeah, possibly. Let's have a look on board then. So, where is he? He's coming into Simul Sante. Yeah, so they said it was going to be an incident-filled corner. There's the first of many, I imagine. He goes wide there into the gravel and
does another one.
Stay out of the wall. Another one here as he comes down in Indianapolis, I believe this is.
Didn't stay out of the wall that time.
Definitely not, no. Yeah, big old hug with Barry the barrier there, and he's going to be disappointed with that. He's going to have to come in for some repairs. And yeah, we saw that big shunt as well. From probably the worst place we saw from Adrian Rice, actually. Him shunting the wall face first into out of the 4 chicanes as well. He has to do a full lap with the damage that he had there as well.
He's out. Mike Olsen is out, Steve. He's
out.
He's
gone,
Yeah, he's gone out. Bless him. Who was that comedian? I can never remember his
Mickey
name.
Flanagan. I am a bit of a connoisseur when it comes to stand-up comedy.
Yeah, Mickey Flanagan.
I watch a lot of it.
He does make me laugh, and I do remember one sketch. Unfortunately, I can't repeat it on broadcast.
No.
But there was him and an American talking about going into her house, should we say. Totally misinterpreted into something completely different. But there we go. Back underway.
Easy.
Yeah, with Ross Smith, JT Tammy not far back behind currently at the moment. So, and that was Matthew Overton. They're just getting overtaken by the faster guy at the LMGT1. So Smith and Tammy having a nice little tidy battle here as well, and one that I think should get rather exciting as well from Ross Smith as he jump on to his nose there. You can see what he sees, give or take. If we really want to look at what Ross Smith sees, probably not a lot more than what we're looking at now as we go through there as well. So yeah, not an ideal scenario, Steve. The vision looks quite impaired in that Marcos.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a car in front of that giant scoop intake, you're not going to see it in a million years, are you? So, yeah, I can imagine his visibility being this poor in this car is something that he's definitely taking into consideration, and maybe needs to think twice as far ahead because of it. I mean, how can you drive for that? I mean, look at that. I'm going to have a detail as well, though. You've got to give kudos to the guys who build these cars in RF. Look at the detail on that thing as well.
I think that's the
Absolutely
thing.
Amazing.
They've got to. He must be able to ride, increase the ride height in the car as well, because otherwise it's going to be. You're really not going to see a lot. Where JT Tammy's a little bit more sort of flat and subtle. That Marcos with that big air vent in front is not ideal. But this is currently one of your closest battles on track at the moment. Everybody else is quite spread out throughout the field. You can see the gaps to the next driver there as well on the LMGT1s. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 13, 12, 3, 6. They're all spread out quite nicely. Even Angelidis has opened up a 6 second gap over Dimarzo, but obviously Dimarzo has been off track. So it is battling down in the LMGT2 AMS with JT Tammy, Matthew Overton and Ross Smith battling away for the lead of this class currently. So this is quite nice and close here down in the field. I'm gone, guys. See you around. Have a good weekend. Cheers to the beers from mid-Germany, says Hill and Tony. There you go.
Yeah, Hill and Tony with that beautiful name. Great to have you here, and enjoy the North Drive. Enjoy your beers. Great stuff. But I like his comments there. It makes sim racers feel like the real thing. I mean, a lot of the things that you do in sim racing, a lot of the talent and skills and things are transferable, I suppose, to real life racing. A lot of it is very, very similar. The main thing you're obviously missing between sim racing and real racing is that hot feel, I suppose, the best way of describing it. feel the car a lot more in your backside when you're driving a car IRL. Whereas in sim racing, the first thing that you really see when the car is slipping or going is maybe the wheel getting a little bit lighter, but it's visual is the first indicator. The horizon just starts to move left or right in the direction that you probably don't want it to move in, really, when you start to slip the back end. But these two guys on track, Smith and Tammy, still battling out tastily, but looks like Smith starting to create a gap there. And I imagine those guys at the top in the Pro LMGT ones are probably thinking, yeah, we're probably happy with the gaps as they stand, because this is an endurance race after all, so probably just want to keep things nice and tidy for the time being and stay out of trouble. Man versus track, I think we're starting to see some guys get overtaken now by the quicker classes.
Yeah, I've got a funny feeling as well, though, before on that one, that there are some guys out of position, and that is Adrian Rice. He is out of position there in the, he's currently in the LMGT1, so that's why he's as close as he is to Matthew Overton and JT Tammy and Ross Smith. So he is out of sync. Here is Adrian Rice, and unfortunately as well, that's why he's mixed up in that middle battle with the guys further down. You can see the guys behind him. We'll bring up the overall tower on the left-hand side there. You can see Rice is in the mix down in 19th, but he's mixed up in the battle there as well. So that's why he is where he is. He's all out of sync, is Adrian Rice, and obviously that started from when he had that little bit of an excursion off track earlier on. So that's why he's put him where he is. But this, yeah, the little battle here could become quite nice and tidy in the LMGT2 ARMS, in the LMGT2 Pro, sorry. And the ARMS is pretty much sewn up. I think if Peter Meyer keeps it on track, it is job done for him. And his Angelina is the same with Dimarzo 5 seconds back. Kirby's closed a little bit on Dahlgren. Currently the gap was out of 6 seconds. It's now down to 3.3 there. Overton trying to break the slipstream from Ross. As he goes and weaves across the side of the track there as well. But listen to that. Oh. Mate, I love this car there as well.
Yeah, sounds absolutely beastly, doesn't it? Sounds absolutely beastly, but yeah, interestingly, Angelides there doing quite well. Currently sitting in P6, I believe it was, amongst the pros. Never mind the AMs, but currently leading his category by 5 or 6 seconds. But these look like big gaps here, but in the course of a 2-hour race, so much can happen. And yeah, one bad lap could let somebody right back into it. You see here Kirby currently closing that gap on Dahlgren, but a long way to go. Pit stop still to happen, and a lot that could still go wrong. You start to see people get on the grass, and obviously traffic and overtakes on those kind of traffic, as we see here. Smith getting back past Overton, getting a bit of a puff of the gravel on the inside there as he comes down onto the main straight. But maybe that's a bit too premature, that. See, now we've got 2 chicanes to go. Maybe Overton's going to have a sneaky look back at this. He's going to get the toe now. Is he going to go for the inside into the chicanes? He's having a sneaky peek.
He's jogging back a bit. They come out the other side, and it's still Smith out in front as well. You tend not to hit left-hand apexes in the Marcos. Well, that would answer the question of being able to see anything, wouldn't it? So if he can't see, that's why he's obviously not hitting that. And here on Tony there, JPB for the win. So thank you so much for that as well. But here comes Overton once more. He's going to have a try at Ross. Not this time as they're going through the second chicane. Is he going to be able to get him on the run down into Mulsanne? Well, that's going to be another question here as well. Overton in the Viper, Smith in the Marcos, and then behind that you've got JT Tammy behind there as well, and he is in the Mustang. But it is Matthew Overton going past Ross over the jump. He's going to try and get the inside line. Is Smith going to get past him now? Slight little bit of contact. Can Smith stop the car? He can't. He's into Overton. JT Tammy just says thank you very much, boys. Take care. Adios. See you later. Oh,
that looks like very much a racing incident. I wouldn't want to be in the steward's room calling that one. But it looks like Ross is the one that comes off worst off from that. I would have to say, like, maybe just from my poor memory as well, that maybe it was Ross that moved over to the inside as well as we watched the replay there, and they both end up with big damage as well.
This is earlier on in the incident. Over the jump. Smith did look like he made contact. Got a little bit loose over the jump, and then, well, I know it says you got to catch them all there on the side of Overton's car, but I'm not quite sure he intended to be caught like that, Mr. Smith. So, unfortunately for him, not ideal. Not an ideal way of dealing with that scenario, but it looked like Smith got loose over the jump, wasn't it? It was one of the areas that we were talking about, was the fact that obviously, you know, you've got to be a little bit careful over that jump because of the lightness and the way the car goes, and that is what looked like Smith had the problem with.
Yeah, maybe it was the braking zone as well, that braking zone in Mulsanne as well. Very easy to get a little bit out of shape, and they're both on the limit there, trying to go brake as late as they possibly could. Both end up in contact, in a spin. I think Ross ends up worse off because of it as well. That could break up that battle that we've been having in the LMGT's 2 category as well. And Tammy, I was about to mention that as well. I didn't even get the chance to as well. I was saying, like, all he needs to do in that situation is follow on board.
Ely's round.
Big accident there.
Yeah.
Several cars involved.
Tempera, Marazzi, Ely, all involved in that one. Let's see if we can catch up with it here.
Looks like Ely's got some big damage to the car as well. It's crabbing all over the shop.
I think it was that Marazzi started that. Filippo Marazzi here started this, I think. So he starts puffing it up, starts going off, then he starts running down, and unfortunately for this young lady coming around the corner, that's what she's going to see. And then he comes across the track, taps her. Oh, and Ely goes round, unfortunately, there. And that was the result of the issue from Felipe. Not an ideal scenario, was it really? Not one that you would have loved to deal with on that side of things.
That one's a little bit more clear-cut from the FIA compared to the old Smith. Well, that is a very poor rejoin, you've got to say. That guy just needs to get it safely off the track at that stage. But look at the crabbing that Eli's got on her car here. She's got almost a quarter of a lock on the right hand to the right there, just to keep the car going straight. This is going to be very difficult to drive. Just going to struggle to get it back around to the pit in short order, and losing time all of this way as well. She's going to be very dissatisfied with that. That could cause big problems for her in the championship. But 3 wins in the bout means that she put herself in a great position to kind of absorb a loss like this. But it's still not ideal at all. I still can't get over this view here in this car. How can you see where you're going when you turn left? It's just impossible, isn't it? It's just impossible.
Yeah, poor old Smith. It must be like looking at an old granny trying to drive a Porsche. It's just an impossible. But I will go back to Smith. The reason I'm wanting to go back to Smith was for this purpose, unfortunately. Ross Smith did take an adventure of track there. There he goes. Unfortunately for him, and funny enough, it's a left-hand corner, so maybe he didn't see where he was going. I don't really know.
He doesn't even know he went off track at this stage. Like, he hasn't got a clue what just happened. He's wondering, has somebody got off behind me? Why is there a big plume of smoke there? Like, what's going on?
Poor old Smith in that Marcos there. David Anderson, great broadcast, guys. Thank you so much there, sir. So much love to you, and you know, thank you so much for your kind words. Tom Lane has unfortunately taken a little bit of a dive out of track and is now dropped down the order behind Barry Dimarzo. Lane in the LMGT1 doesn't look like he's done well. We can have a brief look back at that as well in order to fill up your screens of replays, but let's have a look and see. There seems to be a flurry all at the same time of Marazzi and Ely having an episode. Lalonde might have been involved with De Bruyne as well, and Gwilym Benk has also been off track. Tom Smith with Tom Smith. I'm mixing up children here, making love children between Tom Lane and Ross Smith. Obviously Smith went off track, and it looks like Lane's been off, as Barry Dimarzo has just been off, and so has Lane. Well,
has anybody who stayed on the track at this stage? My word. What
went on here? Barry Dimarzo on the brakes, and Lane just... Well, I'm not sure what Lane did. Hey?
I think that looks like a brake failure from Lane, doesn't it? It just didn't stop at all. Look, did not stop at all.
Dimarzo's on the brakes, Lane just...
Didn't. Has his pedal broke or something like that? Something's gone. You'd think, if his pedal was broken and he was pressing the brakes and he wasn't stopping, he would take avoiding action, dodge to the left, to the right, but he just plows right into it. I don't think he expected that failure at all, or he just lost his concentration, missed his braking point, which is very easy to do in those chicanes, and just plowed right into the back of Guy. And it's going to be another, sorry to say, very easy one for the FIA to deal with there.
It's fairly seems to be fairly obvious there. So yeah, unfortunately for Lane, yeah, not ideal. I'm not quite interpreting the move. There wasn't movement, and that's the problem, wasn't there? There wasn't a movement either way. It just Barry Dimarzo was unfortunately the brake. He was almost the buffer at the train station, you know what I mean? And he just went bang straight through. Oh dear, never mind. I'm sure Tom Lane might apologise to Barry Dimarzo after that as well. Smith is now into the pits. Ely's into the pits as well. There's obviously Dimarzo is DNF. Olsen's out as well. Unfortunately, we've lost Dimarzo and Olsen and Tom Lane, funny enough. Smith is into the pits. JT Tammy has been off track, so is Felipe Marazzi again. So we won't worry too much about that action, because obviously, you know, yeah, there's been a lot of people running off track currently at this moment in time, but there's now some even bigger gaps appearing on the racetrack here. Maya and Tempera are now, well, Tempera's in the pits, so currently it's a 6.5 minute gap there as well. Tammy and Overton, 3.3. Angelidis and Hutchinson. Hutchinson's out in front by 15 seconds. Dahlgren and Kirby is 2 seconds. So the gap up front is slowly coming down with Dahlgren and Kirby, Steve. But it's coming down quite slowly, isn't it? It's bit by bit at the moment.
But, like we said before, it's an endurance race. An hour and 47 minutes still to go. And lots of pit stops in that time as well. And this is an area where I believe, I've seen this in the past in endurance races, you've got to get the limits, and every 0.5 of a second that you can get everywhere you can, and that includes the pit entries and exits. And a lot of people tend not to practice those. They miss those out, or they don't think about it. They think, oh, I'm just going to take it easy on the entry. You need to brake as late as you can on the entry. It's not a time to take it easy. There's a lot of time to be gained there, and those 2 seconds could disappear in a flash if Dahlgren gets the entry wrong or the exit wrong, or maybe he misses his pit box or something like that. Yeah. It's still very, very tight in terms of the relative overall race, you know. So there's still a lot of action that he had, and just had a massive flurry of action. I'm surprised you kept up with it all. How you keep up with it all is beyond me. But lots of people having incidents here in this track. It's not an easy track at all.
I want to bring up one thing as well. Look at the sky. What is happening currently at the moment is the sun is on its way down. The sun is dropping, and here as well. So we are going to be nighttime soon. Lights are coming on already. You can see them in front reflecting off the trees. And yeah, starting to get dark, Steve. So our job is going to be made even harder, because we're not going to see who they are. Thank God for the overlay telling us which driver we're pointing at, because when it goes black on any game, it makes it impossible at times to see which car it is. And Ely's out, Smith is out as well. Dimarzo's not going to finish. Olsen's not going to finish either. So here goes. Oh, you got to let it through. Come on, come on, come on. Lift. Just lift.
I can feel the impatience here from Kirby as he tries to pass the back markers here, and not getting a lot of help from the said back marker. And yeah, he's going to be very disappointed with that. They're in voice chat together as well, so I imagine he's probably sending a swear word or two that driver's way, saying, just get out of my way, please. You're not racing me. Just give it up easy and early, and that's it. You've got to be predictable. Is the name of the game here in these endurance races, is be predictable. If the guy behind you is in a much faster car and he's looking up the inside into Arnage, let him through. Give him in. Don't turn in on him. Lift early, brake early, and be predictable.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely is. You've got to be predictable. But, you know, people know how I feel about blue flags. It can at times drive me completely and utterly crazy. because I have this different F1 mentality compared to most other people, I think, Steve. I think that's my problem.
You with F1 mentality of blue flags mean move.
Yeah.
Get out of the way as soon as possible. No racing whatsoever.
Yeah, hold on a minute, right? Yes, to a degree. Now, I have to explain this situation, right? Blue flags do drive me crazy, and you can talk about them all day as much as you want with me. If that situation like that, Peter Meyer is not racing anyone, he has got a gap that stems out to the next person behind him of over nearly 4.5 minutes, right? If not longer. So, you're going down into Arnage or Indianapolis, you are able to lift just a little. You didn't have to take Kirby all the way into the corner. That's my issue, is when a car is racing, a slower car is trying to stay alongside a faster car, not lifting before he gets to the corner, taking him into the apex, not allowing that faster car to draw a racing line. That's when it drives me crazy. And that's when I get really grumpy about blue flags, because I'm in the mentality of, if I'm racing alone, like now, right, from Magnus Dahlgren, currently here on track, he's catching, that is Matthew Overton, right? From Overton's point of view now, he can just let him go. There you go, job done, right? No point Overton running him right into that corner. Now, Overton doesn't have to try and shift it for Kirby because he is a little bit far back. I get that. He's going to make it through this complex before allowing Kirby through, okay? So now he's in a position to allow Kirby through without any issues because of where they are on track. Look, look, all the way to the right, let him go, no issues. My problem is when people take it down into the corner and the apex and not allow the faster car to take their line. That's when it drives me crazy, and that's when Mr. James Parfitt up here in the booth starts getting a little bit crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine if you could see some of the races that I've been in iRacing, I can't imagine how you would have much hair left, because those blue flags in iRacing, very different kettle of fish. People are always saying, oh, but the iRacing code of conduct says they're really just advisory. The iRacing code of conduct also says make every reasonable effort to make the faster car pass, which means getting out of the way, basically. People always miss that part of the thing. I am 100% on board with what you're saying. Yeah. If anybody else has argued that, send them my way, and I'll set my DMs alight with vanity and other choice words, because blue flags, you should get out of the way. Yes. Now, the real difficult point that comes about is if you are behind somebody who you're going to unlap yourself from if you get past them and you're quicker, what happens there? Because obviously you get past them, you usually get the blue flag. You're not supposed, you can't then give it up. No, get the blue, like you're unlapping yourself, you get the blue flag as soon as you go past them. You've got to then be given at least a lap and a half or so to get away from them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You can basically, if you're faster, unlap yourself, pull away. I've got no problems with that. My problem is then if you've overtaken to unlap yourself, and then you've gone and go and stacked it in a bush or whatever in front of it, and then you're interrupting somebody else's race, right? If you're faster, get on with it, go and pull away, job done, right? I get that. But it is these people who go, it's down to the faster car to make their move, and I'm staying on my line. Yes, but the sentence underneath that says, please facilitate the pass does not involve you driving an LMP2 if you're in a GT3 down into an apex of a corner, and then you wonder and moan about an LMP2 diving you. Well, not being rude, you've just gone down a straight, so therefore you could have lifted and moved over. You know what I mean? To facilitate.
It's all about planning, isn't it? Really, like, and these endurance races have that a big thing with planning, and not just the strategies and things like that, the tyres, the fuel stops and things. It's just planning every overtake and where you're going to be able to make it stick nice and cleanly as well. On the inverse side of that, I get where you're coming from. Sometimes the guys in front, the slower cars, aren't making every reasonable effort to let the quicker guys behind, but there are times, plenty of times I've seen before, where these guys in the LMP1s or the GT1s, a faster car, just do send it. Like they're assuming that the guy is just going to get out of the way, and I'm all for this getting off the line thing, but being predictable is the main thing. And if the situation that we're talking about here, down in Arnage, the predictable thing to do would have been stay online and lift, go very slowly into that corner, and the guy in the faster car behind, he then needs to judge around you, and then the obvious thing to do there would be to send it down the inside into that corner and make an aggressive overtake, because you know the guy's going to be much slower at the apex. It's all about that planning situation kind of thing. If the guy behind is thinking to myself, well, this guy's going to be on the apex when I get to him, maybe they should back off as well.
Don't drive him into a tight corner. There's no point. Then moan. Oh, you dived me. Well, I'm not going to be ruthless, son. You have just run him down into a tight hairpin at Road Atlanta, where you've got about a 3/4 of a mile long straight where you could have quite happily lifted. Drives me crazy. Anyway, enough of that. I'll be here all day. TS, top-notch commentary. Thank you very much for that, even though you have just listened to us moan for 15 minutes about blue flags. But there we go. Onwards and
We're
upwards.
entitled to our blue flag modes. Leave us alone with the blue flag modes. We love the blue flag modes.
We definitely are. But let's give you a rundown of what's going on currently at the moment, all right? So this is the current situation in the LMGT1s. Here in the pros, you have got Dahlgren out in front with Kirby, 2.5 back from him. There's Kirby's headlights in the background. Then you've got De Bruyne, Hall, Coudray, Funk, Schultz, Enrique, Whitehead, Rice, Lalonde. We've lost Lane and Geneva on that one. Now in the LMGT1 Pros, this is the situation currently here. Angelidis is out in front by 21 seconds with Hutchinson behind him. Miller behind that, Mountjoy and Benk, and then we've got Ely still running. Of course, Ely got caught up in an incident earlier on, unfortunately for her, and no fault of her own. The rejoin needs to have a look at. Dimarzo's out. He got literally punted out by Lane. Unfortunately, it looked like a brake failure, and we've lost Olsen in that one as well. In the LMGT2s, this is a little bit more, well, it was a little bit more exciting. Tammy is out in front, owed by Overton for 4.9 seconds, and then you've got Smith behind it. Unfortunately, Smith went off, funny enough, in the Marcos, in a left-hand turn. Now, if you're wondering why we find that funny, is partly because in that car, you can't actually see a lot when you turn left. And if you don't know what I mean, this is it. You're on the right-hand side and you've got a big old air vent in front of you, so you can't see what happens when you turn left there, and that one kills it. Now, in the LMGT2 AMS, you've got Peter Meyer out in front. You've got Marazzi 1 lap down. Now, Marazzi was involved in the incident with Ely. Marazzi put it against the wall, drove back on, unfortunately spun, and as he spun, he collected Becky Ely, and that caused where the problem is. Tempera is currently a long way back, so as long as Meyer can keep it on track here, he should take the victory in the LMGT2 AMS. Now that's basically the situation and a recap of what's happened over the last hour. We've got an hour and 36 minutes remaining, so it's going to be an interesting one to see how this all pans out. We've got Benkers unfortunately not having a good time here at all. Gwilym Benk has been off track again, twice in a row. Brian Hall looks like he has completely DNF'd and is not finishing off here either. So it looks like we've lost Brian Hall. Oh no, he's coming back out. Oh, he is still out, so I'll eat my words on that one. Sorry, Mr. Hall, I didn't mean to say that you DNF when you actually haven't. But it is getting very close here. Even Funk was the green car that we were looking at earlier on, Steve, that we got caught as well in the Marazzi incident. So it was Ethan Funk there, but he is now having a battle with Joachim Coudray behind him, and as trying to fight his way there as well in the LMGT1. So there is a couple of battles still going on screen, guys, and we will try and keep up with what's happening, but that's been your recap of what's happened over the last hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, lots happening so far. We're still not even halfway through, I believe, yet, so it's still a lot more to still happen, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting finale to this. And these endurance races are all about a test of well, funny enough, endurance, and how long you can keep the focus together. And a number of drivers falling at the first hurdles, really, early incidents, and you tend to find in these endurance races that the longer they go on, the more incidents and things you get. So we're probably going to start to see more and more issues as people get their apexes wrong, hit the curbs a little too hard, maybe get the braking wrong into Mulsanne as well. And we'll see here in the pros as well, big gaps as they stand at the moment, but I've got a feeling that they are a little bit misleading, those gaps, shall we say. We've got, you know, big intervals here, but a couple of people pit, a couple of people haven't. So some of the intervals, like the 72 seconds there between Funk and Kirby, are most likely down to pit stop. But trying to find out, these are probably, a lot of these gaps are just people just lifting and giving a bit of space and trying to give themselves enough room to work in to keep hitting their laps nice and consistent. So that 1.5, 2 seconds that you see between Schultz and Enrique, that 3 seconds that you see between Kirby and Dahlgren, that's probably drivers just leaving that gap there to give themselves room for manoeuvre. Because if you turn a corner and there's a big puff of smoke and you can't see the car inside that puff of smoke, that's sideways across the track, it gives you a lot of time to react, as Becky Ely now knows.
Yeah.
Not enough time to react. So these guys are maybe just leaving those gaps there because they know it's an endurance race, they know there's plenty of time, and that 3 second can disappear in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with you. We have well now bedded ourselves into the night time here at the 2.4 hours of Le Mans, which is the times 10 speed. So we are going to have a full 24-hour cycle here this evening. That's why we've got 2.4. Obviously 24 divided by 10, 2.4, we're going to time the session by 10, which then works itself out. Doing quick maths there as we are watching Kirby and Dahlgren coming round now. Kirby has gone into the pits. Dahlgren carried on, mind you. I'm guessing Dahlgren's going to try and go for one more lap if he can. But that's going to be an interesting to see how close he will be on that one. Benk is in the pits. Kirby's now in the pits, so you see him on the left-hand side as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all develops. Once Kirby has taken his pit stop, I think that's going to be the question. We've got Alexander Schultz in the Mercedes-Benz CLK LM. Now, before we tell you it's the CLK that went up in the air, it was a CLR. However, we did watch earlier on when a CLK did go up in the air, and I believe it may have actually been Alexander Schultz. I was initially thinking it was Wayne Hutchinson, but I got a funny feeling it was Schultz that went up in the air there, and one that we did watch earlier on.
I think you've got that one spot on, yeah. But it was the silver livery of Schultz, and yeah, shares a name with another very good comedian, Mr. Schultz from America, from New York. Great comedian if you ever get the chance to look him up. But yeah, it's getting to that point now in the race where everybody's coming at the pits and things are starting to kind of mix themselves up a little bit. We won't really know what's going on until everybody's done everything that they need to do in terms of pit stops, and whether or not people are going to go for the doubles or the 3 pit stops remains to be seen. But I don't think anybody's got the come out into the pits for a 3rd time just yet. But Dahlgren will be hoping that he can get a lot done around these pit stops as well. One thing interesting that we haven't seen, particularly in the pros of the LMGT ones as well, is we haven't seen a lot of people following on behind somebody, taking the tow, lifting and saving fuel. Everybody's been deciding to kind of just back off those 2 or 3 seconds, take out the dirty air, get out the dirty air altogether, and run a nice clean air so that they can keep their times nice and consistent. So that's an interesting feature of this race so far, is that nobody's wanting to get the tow all the way down the Mulsanne straight through the chicanes and save fuel. So fuel may not be a limiting factor in this one.
Yeah, hopefully on that one we will see, but Dahlgren has got the run. He's got about 75 seconds over Kirby. As we say, Kirby has just gone into the pits. We did just witness him going in there as well. There's a few other gaps now starting to appear. We've still got Marazzi 1 lap down. We've still got 23 cars on track. Dimarzo, Lane, Olsen and Geneva. Geneva went out at the beginning. I'm a little bit confused about what actually happened to him. Victor Geneva didn't actually make the start, so unfortunately lost a few positions right at the beginning there, so that was a bit of a shame for Victor Geneva. But there we go, we've got Whitehead in the pits as well, and a few others all sat there at the same time. Whitehead, Schultz and Coudray are in. You see the 3 of them. Coudray just pulls out on the right hand side and is going to come out of the pit lane by the looks of it first. They're ahead of these guys. Pitting out is obviously Funk as well, and Schultz, and at the same time. So it's all getting this pit stop phase now, and it's Wayne Hutchinson with George Angelidis just up the road at the moment here for Hutchinson, as we go on board here for a little bit of time. Wayne Hutchinson here as well. Catching Angelidis is about 1.9 seconds back. He did have a brief 1.2 at one point, but is now 1.9, so Angelidis did seem to open up a little bit of time on him.
Yeah, and I think he's going to continue to open up that time there. I think this is all down there. This concertina effect is all down to the way the pit stops have worked themselves out. I think actually this came in first. So he's now got the warmer tyres and can start creating that gap. As we see, it's going up and up as time goes on. So interesting strategy battle there. But so Hutchinson definitely gained a lot of time in the pit on Angelidis there. So maybe Angelidis lost out big time on the entry or exit, or maybe in the pit stop itself. Maybe he changed tyres. He was talking about before the race that maybe he will change tyres, and Hutchinson didn't. So be interesting to see how all that plays out in the end as well.
Yeah, Angelidis looks like he's got a better run though, mind you. It's 4.3 seconds now up the road already, so he has opened up that gap and is absolutely flying away here.
Dahlgren now in the pits though. Be interesting to see what happens with that one. How long he spends in there.
Oh, go on, Kirby. Let's see what you can do here, sir. Can he get Dahlgren? That's going to be the problem. Has Dahlgren stopped yet? He has. We'll keep an eye on the right-hand side, depending on how close Kirby is. Coming through the curves. He's got traffic, mind you, Steve. That's not an ideal scenario. And one of them, Becky Ely, in front of him as well. And I believe that's Matthew Overton in front of that. Dahlgren is still stopped. We're going to see Kirby very, very shortly on the right-hand side. There he is. Dahlgren's not coming out yet, and Kirby's just about to go through. Kirby's the last car on that right-hand side, and Dahlgren is in, and Kirby is taking the lead. Dahlgren's still there.
Yeah, I wonder what's that down to. Is that down to tyre change? Is that taking more fuel on? Well, it remains to be seen, but he's well off or away, isn't he? Out of sight already, as now Dahlgren starts to move, and he'll already be on the Mulsanne straight, wouldn't he? That's Kirby has definitely pulled one out of the back.
Yeah, sure. He definitely has. I think that was a bit of a weird one, to be fair. Kirby clears the traffic. He's now got Becky Ely in front of him currently at the moment here as well. But yeah, I'm going to have a look and see what he opened up gap-wise over 22.5 seconds.
I'm guessing that's good. That sounds just about right to change tyres where the other guy didn't maybe.
Now I'm wondering as well though, Steve, before we really get into the nitty-gritty of this strategy, whether or not Kirby has gone for a shorter middle stint to make the jump over Dahlgren, and Dahlgren went for a longer fuel.
Very possibly. Maybe Kirby's doing the 3-stop. It is the GT1s that it's very tight for the 2-stop, so I'm wondering whether Kirby's going for the 3-stop, takes on less fuel, it's quicker on track because of it, maybe takes the second set of tyres at the second stop. Maybe Dahlgren is thinking, I just want to do the 1-stop, I've taken care of my tyres the entire time, and that could be a 30-second gain in the pits for Dahlgren, but who knows? I mean, I'm as in dark as
me.
Just in the dark. As dark as it is on track, basically. I haven't got a clue what's going to go happen here with the strategies, and whether or not either of them took tyres either. And yeah, Angelidis was talking about this before the track beforehand. That tyres are very on the limit as well. Getting at the end is something that some drivers can do and some can't. So maybe Dahlgren has this idea in his head that he's going to get this one set of tyres to the end, and if it's that tight, one little slide, one little problem, one off track where you go a bit sideways or get a bit of gravel on them could mean that those tyres are ruined for that strategy, and he'll have to come in for a third, maybe change his strategy mid-race, which is always very difficult to do.
Yeah, fortunately for Gwilym Bank here, he has gone and taken another excursion down into what looks like the first chicane. Too hot there, bud. Too hot. Bank is not loving this track, I'm not going to lie. Stephen Miller has also been off as well. Oh, no.
Oh, that is Indianapolis, I believe, where he's taking it a bit too hot there, around the right hand there. Doesn't give you the opportunity to get the car stable and in a straight line for the braking zone of Indianapolis. Ever important is that braking zone for Indianapolis. You've got to get the car slowed down very quickly. But yeah, this track, not for the faint of heart at all. Every time I come back to this track after a hiatus or a little time off it, it is a nightmare to relearn. It is a long track, 3.5, 4 minutes long to start with. Lots of corners to learn, 21 in total for this version. And there's not many easy ones here. You've got to say everywhere is a difficult corner. Dumlock curve 1, very hard to get right. You've got to keep it pinned and keep the car over to the right hand side. You've got these corners here. Where are we? We are in the Porsche curves.
Yes, down into Fords now.
Down into the Fords. Yeah, the Fords, absolute nightmare. A little easier in this variation of the track because it's a lot easier to absolutely demolish the second set of the Porsche chicanes. But in the modern version, they're a lot more violent, those curbs. But definitely violent enough here to cause problems, as we saw with Rice ploughing into the barrier on the exit to the second set chicane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the interesting thing, we've got some lovely little pit lane roving reporters in YouTube chat here. Mr. Reese, Dahlgren took tyres, Kirby didn't. Benport there has put 2 seconds faster per sector. Now, if you keep an eye on the on the right hand corner here as well, Dahlgren has been closing onto Kirby. Now it was out at 27 seconds, then he went down to 18, it's now down to 16. And he's coming down at a rapid rate. Don't forget though, Kirby has also had traffic. So Dahlgren's going to now come into that same period of traffic that Kirby just had of Ely and the others that were there as well. So he's now catching the traffic. He's pulled up 14, he's down to 14 seconds from the 16 we were just talking about. But he's got the same traffic that Kirby has had, okay? So let's not forget that at the same time. So although Kirby is out in front, he has got now, Dahlgren's got the same bit of traffic to be coming into. So there are all the cars in front. You're just seeing them at the top end of your screen there going out of the next chicane. So there they all are that Dahlgren's got a handle. So really, it's going to be seeing how Kirby gets on over the next sort of lap or so, if he can get into clean air to see whether or not he can basically keep maintaining that gap between himself and Magnus Dahlgren.
I'm guessing then as well that Angelidis also took tyres in his pit stop, which is why Hutchinson managed to catch up with him so much in those pit windows. And then why Angelidis is now running away from him. 15 seconds the gap is there. Obviously they were almost within a second of each other after the pits stopped as well. But Dahlgren is a man on a mission, currently down now within 14 seconds and quickly heading to 13 as well, as he's clambering all over the back of Kirby's times at the moment. As I say, absolutely rapid. 2 seconds per sector is unbelievable pace. So those new tyres making a big difference. And it looks like he's going to catch up that difference that Kirby gained in the pits by not taking the tyres on track in short order.
Yeah, fully agreed here. It's back out to 14, mind you. It was down to 13-12. Looks like Dahlgren is now into what that traffic sector almost. Yeah, there's the first one he lost time with there as well. He's now got, I think there's 2 more up the road there. I think that's Marazzi who's just got past in the Porsche. So, and now we're going once more. But Dahlgren is definitely closing, 12.3 to Kirby. You can see the time coming down now. It's dropping like absolute crazy at the moment. There's still extended gaps throughout the rest of the field. You can see it there on your screen. Maya's got, well, loads of time, shall we say, over Tempera. Angelidis has got 19 seconds over Hutchinson. Kirby's got 13.2, and Tammy has got about 26 seconds almost over Overton, with Smith a further 67 seconds behind that as well. As there was an off there, Gilles Lalonde. However lovely Gilles Lalonde car looks in the dark, it doesn't look good doing this.
Yeah, nobody wants to see their car looking good buried in a barrier, that's for sure, as he gets a little bit on the grass on the outside there. And you know, that's a big hit. That is probably start to see the sun maybe coming up ever so slightly soon. But look at that car, that looks fantastic, that livery. Glowing red, looks like it's red hot poker coming out with the hot coals, doesn't it? Like,
yeah.
Absolutely brilliant as it comes at you through the dark. But he has to pit now and fix some of the damage with his car, if he can fix it, that is.
Yeah, he did take a big punt there, sir, didn't he? You know what I mean? Unfortunately, Dahlgren now 10 seconds behind Kirby. Absolutely closing rapid here as well. Kirby's last at that time was a 3:50.098. Magnus Dahlgren, listen to this. 3:44.691. He pulled 6 seconds out of Kirby. If he does the same this time, by the next lap, he's only going to be 4 seconds back. So in 2 laps' time, we could have a battle for the lead here in the LMGT1s. We'll keep an eye on the times. You can see they're still coming down, but it is now more traffic and Becky Ely in front of him here as well. So he might go out a little bit to 12.5. But if he pulls another 6.5 seconds out of him, Steve, it's going to be difficult now for Kirby to stay ahead, isn't it?
Certainly is. And but here's the thing. He's going to overtake Kirby on track, his main rival. And even though he's 4 seconds a lap quicker, he's not going to be 4 seconds a lap at the apex of every corner quicker. So Kirby could get the elbows out here. He could start battling and fighting this guy. That's what he needs to do, to be honest. He needs to hold him up or slow him down in any which way he can. Because the strategy is being so vastly different. He needs to keep him behind as long as he possibly can. He doesn't want to just open the door and let him through. And if he gets the door open for him, Dahlgren will certainly drive straight through that open door. But Kirby will never see him again, I think, is the problem there. So Kirby's got to get the elbows out and start giving us a bit of a battle here. Give us some entertainment, because if he doesn't, he's just handing the win to Dahlgren. But Dahlgren might just take it anyway.
Yeah, well,
4 seconds a lap's a lot.
Yeah, 4 to 6 seconds a lap's quicker. He's just going to meet him and go past him. In hindsight, if we're looking at what it is, he's just going to meet up to him and say, see you later. Thanks, mate. I'm off. You know what I mean?
Those new tyres, he's going to be a lot quicker in the corners, is the main issue. So maybe he's just going to be able to hang out around the outside when he does get to Kirby. But it all depends on what Kirby does, where he catches him as well.
There is Kirby there. Top part of your screen, he's just gone over the hill, dropped down into the corner. So Dahlgren is closing at a rapid rate of knots here. Now down to 8.9. I'm expecting to come down a lot further by the time they get to the end of this lap. We said about 4 seconds, give or take. If Dahlgren's pulled out the 6 that he did on the last lap, of course. They're coming down into, I believe that's Indianapolis it is, and then Arnage there. There's Kirby just going round Arnage, and here comes Dahlgren now. He's just pulled out another 1.4 in that little bit of a corner, because he's now 6.8 back. Kirby's going to get blown away here. And this, I think,
it looks that way, it definitely looks that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's going to get absolutely blown through.
How sharp are his elbows going to become when he gets side by side with him? That's the thing. And yeah, we saw the last time we had a close battle on track, it was between Overton and Smith. So remember how that one turned out. It depends on where he catches him and how easily he can make this move. And whether Dahlgren maybe sits in his toe for a little bit and picks his moment, or whether or not he just goes very aggressive from the get-go and tries to get past as soon as possible. But yeah, these guys are pushing the limits as it stands. I mean, look at this. Kirby at the moment using every inch of the track through the curves there. Porsche curves, as it comes down into 4. And but that gap still coming down, but less quickly now. But I don't know why that is. Maybe is that the tyres equalising a little bit? More traffic. Yeah.
Traffic, I think, played a massive part in that one. He's still, you say he's coming down less, right? Kirby did a 3.49. Dahlgren did a 3.44. So he's still pulled 5 point. It was actually 5.6 seconds
in one lap. That's
in one lap.
Unreal. So those new tyres are doing work for sure.
Oh yeah, he was 6 seconds out last time. So over 2 laps, he's pulled 11, nearly 11.5 seconds out over Daniel Kirby, and all he's done is put fresh boots on. There's Kirby there. There's Dahlgren.
Already within sight then, yes. So down the Mulsanti straight they go towards the first chicane, I believe we are. Yeah. And Dahlgren has him in his sight. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. We'll come back to that, but yeah, it's intense. He's got the cat and mouse game going on here between these two now, and Kirby knows that he's got to try and hold up this man behind him as much as he possibly can. This is for position, so once he does catch him 4 seconds a lap faster or no, he's going to have to do everything he can to keep this man behind. It all depends on where he catches him, and can't keep him behind forever. No. I don't think that's going to be an impossibility. But I wonder whether or not as well Kirby is going to go for a 3rd pit stop. Some of these guys might go for the triple stop, 3 stop. It's a very tight 2 stop here in the GT1. So could be a big base strategy to do not take the tyres at the first stop, take them at the second stop. Have fresher tyres for the last stint with the least amount of fuel.
Well, let's have a look at what happened to Paolo Tempera. Unfortunately for him. There's Tempera. He's gone round as well. And unfortunately, Ethan Funk has also gone off track here as well. And he isn't the first person to go off there. Definitely not.
Certainly not. No, he's just the back end getting a bit out of shape there as you come around that fast right-hander there. Sorry, and he just drifted a bit too wide. Maybe got a back wheel onto the grass, and that was say goodnight basically. As soon as you hit the grass, there's no grip there whatsoever. And, as power runs through those real wheels, it'll just throw you into a wall, as it has just done.
Yeah, definitely. Job done. Grass is not the most perceptive, is it, when it comes to racing cars in sim racing?
It depends on the track, really. Sometimes, obviously, we saw that drama with iRacing a few weeks ago, where everybody going down the Kemmel Straight was dipping two wheels into the grass on the left-hand side of the Kemmel Straight in Spa to cool them down in order to give you more grip throughout the high-speed corners, and it was working a treat. And there was a bit of drama in the iRacing circles about whether or not that was considered cheating. The guys in charge of the race control said it was, and but I don't see how it is cheating, because I mean, surely a real-life racing car could do the same thing, cool the tyres down in the grass a little bit. Obviously, depends very much on how wet that grass is and how brave you are as a driver.
I don't know. I don't. The interesting thing about that as well, because I remember that scenario because it was at Spa, and the interesting thing about it was how someone figured out that cools your tyres down. And then everybody else did the same thing. I can't quite understand that, to be honest. But then there was recent as well. Oh, Dover now pushing Kirby all the way here. There was a recent thing at Nürburgring with a 24-hour as well. People were finishing quali, and because of how high the line was, where the finishing line was at Nürburgring, they were going into the pits. And they were actually crossing the line faster in the pits than they were going round a lap. So they were exploiting that part of it as well, because obviously where the line finished, it was easier to go straight on and cross the line earlier and go straight in. You can go literally come off the Nürburgring, just go full flat and get across the line quicker than if you took the track. So
that's a bit cheeky. I mean, dipping a wheel into the grass to cool the tyres down, as the same with brake dragging on the formation laps and things in iRacing, that was considered cheating for a little while. But I think, I mean, if these things work in real life, and more importantly, if they're the same for everybody across the board, then it's fair game. But fair game here is what Dahlgren's going to probably do to Kirby here as he goes along the outside here, down into the first chicane, and he has got no chance of defending that. He is already passed. There's going to be a bit of traffic in front now as well. Is this pink car of Ross Smith going to get in the way? No, he just lifts a little bit.
Yes,
he gets in the way of Kirby though, but oh, that's a big problem for Kirby. That lets Dahlgren through, does not let Kirby through, and that's a huge amount of lost time for Kirby there.
Could Ross lift it the first time? He's on the straight, right? It's just been done by Dahlgren. He knows Kirby's coming. Or did he need to drag him into the apex?
I think would that be unpredictable is the thing. Like, I mean, the thing is, it's all about the planning. And Kirby there, he can't do anything about that. He's planning only based on where he's going to be, and obviously he doesn't know that Smith is going to slow down for Dahlgren to let him through, and then maybe be in the area that he wants to be on the apex when he gets there. In order for Kirby to plan that, for that, he needs to be really aggressive there. Look at the inside, like show that he put his car in the right position to show Smith that he's going to go for the big dive. But I think that's poor planning from Kirby's part, if I'm honest. Maybe Ross Smith could have done more to get out of the way, but it's Kirby needs to do one or the other. He needs to either go for it or not, and he didn't go for it, so he really needs to be more obvious with his car positioning there, I feel. Put his car on the inside, say to Smith, look, I'm going to send it. I'm in a race with this guy that just went past. You need to send it. You can't be dilly-dallying around in traffic and giving people the benefit of the doubt. Well, you know, after you, sir, no, you, sir, first. You know, got to go for it. Got to go for it. I agree with you there. Maybe Smith isn't involved in that battle at all. Maybe he can get out of it a lot earlier. But at the same time, he need to. He's still racing his own race. He has to his job is to get the fastest time he can lap after lap without compromising his own time. He doesn't really care about Kirby's times, does he?
No, definitely not. But there we go. We have got Peter Meyer in pits in the LMGT2 AMS. I'm not going to even worry about Peter Meyer. He's got such a gap over Tempera that he's going to be able to pit and come out still in front. So, you know, it's going to be an interesting one for him there, but I don't really feel he's going to struggle with that. Tempera's currently nearly 2 minutes back. If we take into consideration 120 seconds, there is practically 2 minutes. So we will be able to get in and get out. So from Tempera's point, from Meyer's point of view, job done. Tammy still leading the LMGT2s with over 20.5 seconds. Angelinas has pulled out 35 over Hutchinson, but again, we think that may have something to do with tyres, with Dimarzo and Olsen not completing it. Lalonde is the last on the man in the LMGT1s here as well, as we're coming near the top of the last hour. And with Rice, Whitehead, Schultz, Coudray, Funk, De Bruyne, Enrique, and now obviously we've seen Kirby in second with Dahlgren. Difference again in tyres there as well. So one took tyres, one didn't take tyres. So there we go. All good. And that currently gives you an hour and 8 minutes left here at Le Mans.
Peter Meyer on for his 4th win in a row here in this championship, with his second place in the championship being Marazzi, who's currently in P3. So he's going to gain good points over the guy there and take a commanding lead. 8 points now he's going to be in lead in the championship if it stays as it is, which it looks likely to, unless there's a big crash from Meyer. But he doesn't need to push or put any pressure on himself at this stage. And Dahlgren now running away with this race, as we saw in P1 now over Kirby, and De Bruyne currently struggling. P4, he's managed to gain 1 position from the start, but it's not enough really at this stage. He needs to beat his rival, which is Magnus Dahlgren, currently in the P1 in that Toyota GT1.
Yeah, I think that's the it's a tough one here now, right? Because we've come into that section of a race where you almost plan it if you're sitting at home having your Sunday dinner and you sit back and you think, right, I'm going to eat it at the beginning of the race when it gets most exciting. Then I'm going to go and have a snooze during the middle. And then I might wake up for the last 10 laps after your dinner's gone down and you've woken up. Because this is where we're at in a way with this race. You know, we've got gaps all the way through the field. Nobody's near each other. Nobody's battling for a position. They are all at least 15 to 20 to 60 to 160 seconds away from each other currently. And it's now at this stage where we're waiting for something miraculous to happen, like a second pit stop phase, to get all these cars back together again. Because currently at the moment, they're so far spread out. And with Marazzi and Tempera just gone off track again, unfortunately. We can have a look back at what it is. We'll start it off with Coudray, because he was the first one off. Here is Coudray. That is Indianapolis. Job done for him. Into the barrier he goes. Marazzi now coming through the Porsche curbs before he goes on to the Corvette, running wide into the barrier, and around goes Marazzi. Full 360, nicely held in that Repsol Porsche. Stays out of the way. Nice. That was like watching Disney on Dancing on Ice. It was incredible.
Like watching ballet. That was a terrific pirouette there from...
And then we got Tempera, who got himself involved there as well. And Tempera ended up in the barrier. And also, now, we've got this man who was leading. Oh, keep out of the wall, keep out of the wall, keep out of the wall. Yes, he does. Peter Meyer there just kept it out of the wall there as well. So that was what's just happened over the last few minutes, guys. And cars just all of a sudden taking diverts off track. But now we're back to live action here with Peter Meyer, still leading the LMGT2 AMS. And he has got about 69 seconds, over a minute and a bit back there as well.
Nice.
Yeah, and George Angelides has got 40 seconds back to Wayne Hutchinson. So gaps appearing, and this one is the biggest one. Kirby just lost that position to Dahlgren, and now Kirby is nearly 10 seconds back, and that all stems from the fact that he didn't take tyres.
Honourable mention here to Becky Ely as well, who's managed to get herself back up to P3 even after getting taken out early on by that sideways car there. I believe it was Marazzi. It was Marazzi who got out of shape in the first chicane. But interestingly, in the championship then, so the fight of the championship for this GT1 AM series is getting very interesting indeed. And after this wins this one, that'll be not only be his first win of the season, but it'll put him on 28 points, which will put him P2 from P4 in the championship. Just this one race will gain him 2 positions and put him in P2. After Dimarzo is out of this one, he'll get no points. So Dimarzo will be demoted down to P4, and Hutchinson will stay where he is in P3. Becky Ely in P3 at the moment is currently doing damage limitation here in the championship, but holds on P1 in the championship with that P3. As long as nothing untoward happens to her between now and the end of the race, she'll still hold on to her championship with 3 wins under her belt so far. But this will be the first win for Angelidis, and that'll be possibly a fantastic one for him as well. That really puts him in in with a shout for the championship as we hit the halfway mark in this series.
We've still got some great racing, some great racetracks coming up here as well. Let's not forget, this isn't the end of the season. Don't forget that as well. There's still more rounds to take part in, and ones that you can definitely get yourself involved if you fancy maybe coming along and having a join in. You know, don't forget we are here at Le Mans, and on the 29th of July we do go to Dijon. Then on the 19th of August, it's the Hungaro Ring. 2nd of September, Suzuka. 30th of September, Donington. Oh, Donington. Amazing.
What a track.
Yeah.
What a track.
Absolutely. 28th of October is Austria. Then Miami, and then the season ending on the 2nd of December at Laguna Seca.
Another absolute classic track, Laguna Seca. That corkscrew, infamous around the world for the amount of hearts it's broken in racing, because I don't know how many times I've come around that right-hander, and as soon as you get the seat down that hill, suddenly there's a car sideways right in front of you. And that's when the brown pants really come in handy to hide the sight. But yeah, Donington, I've got to say though, I think Donington probably has the world's greatest chicane in it. That chicane at the end is so fast and the curbs so smooth. Absolutely a joy to drive around that chicane. Turn 15 or 16, I think it is. Absolutely brilliant track. A couple of friends of mine will be going down there with an MX-5 in a couple of weeks that they've just bought for a track day car, and yeah, I can't wait to muscle my way in on that and get to go down for some track days myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, don't forget, guys, we do the modern series as well. Their calendar is looking like they've got the 4.8 hours of Le Mans on the 3rd of June. So 4.8 hours of Le Mans they're doing on the 3rd of June. Then at Watkins Glen on the 17th of June. Then the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park on the 15th of July. Monza on the 22nd of July. Road America on the 26th of August. Fuji on the 9th of September. Indianapolis on the 23rd. Road Atlanta on the 21st of October. And then finishing off at Bahrain in the 11th of November. But they've got 4.8 hours of Le Mans.
Unbelievable. I'm hoping there's going to be a driver swap in that 4.8 hours worth of racing. It's going to be very tricky.
I was waiting for you to mention it, but there is a driver swap and all fancy, lovely jazz going on that event as well. It's not just one driver for 4.8 hours.
Oh, that'd be crazy. Absolutely crazy. Saying that, I don't know if you've ever seen this guy called Basic Ollie. Give him a bit of a shout out. I like following him on this channel. He's got a YouTube channel for iRacing and things like that. I think if anybody wants a new person to follow, he's been unbelievable when it comes to the endurance races. Him and another guy called Josh literally do 12-hour races with 6 hours worth of driving stints each kind of thing. They split them up in 1 hour and a half, 2-hour stints or so, but 12 hours worth of racing, and they literally sit there and do half. It's unbelievable to watch. And they win as well. It's the most the craziest thing about all of that. Obviously, anybody can drive a car for 6 hours, but driving it fast for 6 hours is a different kettle.
Yeah, but doesn't that come down to the fact that if they're doing 6-hour stints or 2-hour stints or 2.5 hours or 3 hours, whatever they may do, the driver swap consideration within iRacing is obviously takes into consideration of 30 seconds, doesn't it? are there lack of driver swaps putting them in a better position than somebody that's changing every stint?
No, because they still have to do the changes, so they can't do a 6-hour stint one guy and then do a 6-hour stint another guy. They've got to change cars at the right time, so you've got to work it around your pit stops as well. So you've got to change obviously when your fuel runs out rather than otherwise, because you can't. I don't know how iRacing works exactly in terms of you can't change or fuel the car while you're doing the driver change or something like that. I know you can't repair the car while you're doing putting fuel in it, and can't tyres and things while you're putting fuel in it, etc. But it's all a mystery, this kind of thing. So I'm just starting to get into the world of endurance racing myself from a driver perspective as well. I just joined a new team called ALM, Andrew Loft Motorsport. Nice. A friend of mine who I met in SLR, but it's a very tricky scenario is endurance racing, and for an old man like me, I can barely make it through a normal race, never mind an endurance race, before I start falling to bits. So these guys, these young whippersnappers who can do these long races in short order is unbelievable. Doing one after the other as well. It was a recent effort from Basic Ollie who tried to do a 12-hour Sebring and then straight into a 12-hour Spa. It did not go well, shall we put it that way? But yeah, it was pretty much over this course of 36 hours. You can spend at least 24 of it racing, pretty much. But it did not go to plan. I think midway through Spa, near the end of Spa, they were literally only about 20 minutes from the end of Spa. They sacked it in because they crashed the car, which was.
Tough.
Hard to watch. I'd gone to sleep and woke up the next day and they were still going and they were still in a decent position, and then obviously exactly because they were just shattered from staying up 24 hours to race all that time. Couldn't keep their eyes open. But that is part and parcel of it, really. These long 24 hours endurance races at Le Mans started that kind of thing off, and scenes of drivers sleeping in the pit lane or absolutely shattered. And this is when the mistakes happen as well. And you know why we love this endurance racing, because it is so difficult, pushing the body and limits to the max.
Well, there you go, guys. That leads us nicely in actually as well. Why we're talking about this endurance racing. JBB are bringing back the Big Dreams Little Voices event that we did back in February, I believe the first one was. We're now raising money still for the Rainbow Trust on iRacing. We are not Rainbow Trust on iRacing, we're raising money for the Rainbow Trust for the 6 hours of Watkins Glen on driving in iRacing. So if you do want to get yourself involved in that, links are down in the description below. There is a JBB Broadcasting Discord link you can get yourself involved with. Come along, it is for charity. All 100% of the money goes to charity. Literally driver entry, sponsorship money, and any money donated on the day goes to the Rainbow Trust. We do have a target of £2,000 this time. We did smash our target of £1,000 by £500 last time. So get yourself involved in that one. Discord link down below. Come along, do some driving for charity. It is fun, and partly what's making it fun is the fact that we have children in the commentary booth. Now, if you've missed the first Big Dreams Little Voices, you should go back, because we let the children do the interview with the drivers, and one of the children did say to a team of two, how do you, out of 1 to 10, how do you rate your other driver?
Oh, I bet that started a fist fight or two.
Yeah, and also we had a young lady by the name of Abby Morton who was commentating on her dad at the time, and her dad went off track. And we said to Abby, do you have any words of advice for your dad? And she instantly just turned around and went, yeah, keep it on the track next time. So they were absolutely brutal, but they will be back joining us again in the booth here as well. So you can come along, get yourself involved. 6 hours of Watkins Glen, all money to charity. And literally, you can come and have some fun for 6 hours with kids in the booth, be interviewed by the children in the booth as well. Smith is in again, as is Becky Healy. So they're back into the pits, of course, as we go into that second cycle. Jason Whitehead is chasing down Adrian Rice here. They're about a second back at the moment. Stephen Miller has slowly caught his way back up onto the back of Tom Mountjoy, who's in front of him as well. So these guys are coming back together once more as that period of racing goes on, which is what we did say would happen as the involvement over second pit stops would take place, didn't we?
Yeah, we're also starting to see the sun come up as well. And it's worth mentioning there as well, I was watching Eli on track a little while ago. She's down now at the P6, which means that she may no longer be in charge of the championship as things stand. But it looks as though the damage to her car is proving to be make that car a little bit of a handful, as is my words getting them out of my mouth, also proving tricky. But she looks to be struggling with it a little bit, fighting the car through Indianapolis and Arnage. So maybe that damage is why she's decided to go for another pit stop. Maybe can't get the car to the end because maybe the tyres won't last, maybe the fuel won't last. No.
But they are 54 minutes away here from finishing off this evening of racing. An absolute stellar job done from all these guys. 2.4 hours of Le Mans. And it is now Tom Mountjoy is going to basically just about to lose a place to Stephen Miller. Can Miller get the car stopped though? That's going to be the question. And going into Mulsanne, he does do this time around. It all did look a little bit sketchy at one point. He was sliding around. Was Stephen Miller in the LMGT 1AM in that Mercedes-Benz CLK LM. So it was driving, you know, it did look a little bit sketchy, as we've seen earlier on with Ross Smith and also Matthew Overton coming together over that specific jump. Actually, just as they landed, Smith got a little bit out of shape and it all went a little bit Pete Tong from there. Wilbur de Bruyn has been off track, so let's have a look.
It's while we're watching that as well, it's interesting that it's the Mercedes CLK that's getting past the Porsche, because that used to happen quite a bit in real life as well, as that seems to be a big old whack that for De Bruyne. So that's very unfortunate for him in that absolutely fantastic live green black car. But damage to the rear wing for certain. That's going to cost him some pace for sure. Big old whack. And that was Indianapolis again. It's proven to be a real collector's item. Is somebody going through that nice and cleanly at this stage. But decides not to pit, keeps going. It's a little bit out of shape as he comes out the 4 chicanes onto the main straight, but he's going to have something to compete with there now with that car, is De Bruyne, as he's going to have a little bit of damage there for sure.
Yeah, Wilbur de Bruyn in third place. Enrique's just gone into the pit, so he has just cleared Enrique. He's now battling away with car number 88, which is the back marker of Paolo Tempera. Tempera moves out of the way, it allows him to go through, so Wilbur de Bruyn is through. Mountjoy and Miller are still close together, half a second back currently at the moment as they're going around the 4 chicane. The sun is on its way up now, which means we're literally over 3/4 of the way through this race. 52 minutes left on the clock, and it's definitely been a battle of mental fruition here as well. One that I think these guys are going to be knackered after this. I think, Steve, to be honest, I think they're going to be absolutely shattered.
For sure, and there's still plenty of time for more drama. 52 minutes remaining here, and yeah, these guys are going to be very, very tired as they come in to the end of this. 2.5 hours worth of driving, 2.4 hours worth of driving, I should say, because it's a little bit less than half an hour, but you've obviously got the qualifying and formation laps to take into account as well. It's a long time to be behind the wheel of a car, and the force feedback on these wheels as well is pretty strong these days, especially if you've got one of the nice fancy direct drive ones as well. Can really sap the energy out of you and make your wrists quite sore after one of these endurance races. Is Mountjoy getting past back marker, I believe it is. But, yeah, it's tiring these, and it's mentally exhausting more than anything else. Just keeping your concentration and making sure that you're hitting apex after apex, lap after lap, and doing that for 2-3 hours. It's not easy at all.
No, definitely not. And I think that's one of the things as well when we're talking about direct drives. One little off, one little spin, one little wall tap, and these steering wheels can practically, at some points, almost break your wrist. The amount of force feedback that goes through them, especially some of the new Fanatec wheels as well. Blue flags out for these guys as one of a guy. I didn't actually catch it. That was car number 26 there. Goes through. Was that 28 on Enrique? It's 28. Felipe Enrique just going past Mountjoy and Miller. That's going to affect their battle. Miller is got now 1.7 seconds, but he is going to be in the same place there as well. Ely is up to the back of Benk. We know Benk's had his problems this evening as well, and at times has struggled to keep it on track. but currently at the moment, Becky Ely has closed up on Benk and should be very, very close very, very shortly. And this could be another battle with 0.6 on the clock there for Ely to try and close down. So let's see how she does here as well with Willem Benk in front of her.
Confirmation from you here as well. No matter what happens today, Becky Ely will still end this race in the lead of the championship with 30.5 points. But unless she, that'll only be a case if she DNFs and doesn't finish the race. If she finishes the race at all, she'll get at least 1 point, maybe 2, and to hold on to the championship lead as it stands. But 28 points is what Yorgos Angelidis is going to end up on after this. So he's going to be in P2 if he keeps it smooth till the end. But interesting battle here at this championship, the AMs here for the GT1s. It's hotting up, it's getting tighter as the season goes on, and after 3 wins on the bout, it doesn't look like Becky Ely's going to get the 4th. But Maya for certain in the AMs for the LMGT2s is definitely going to get his 4th in a row. Absolutely huge gap between him and P2 out of the 3 drivers in the AM category. The real action here tonight has been in the LMGT1 Pro category, where
Beck's lost it. Beck's just lost it off. He shortcutted the corner. Is he going to make Indianapolis? He is. But Gwyneth Beck went off a big style there, lost it now. Ely was closed right up. I was just about to mention the fact that she's got a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle on the front of her car there as well, as we were looking up on the nose behind the aerial. Love the livery, absolutely incredible. But yeah, Gwyneth Beck got all out of shape and did not do a great job there. Manages just to hold it in front. But Becky Ely is coming now.
If I was Becky Ely in this situation, I would be screaming.
What's Benk doing? I'm not.
He's giving it up. That's what I was about to say. He's giving it up. If I was Becky Ely there, I would be screaming in voice chat saying, "You've got to give that position up. You won off track. Can't rejoin and save all that." Because obviously he saved time doing that. Otherwise he wouldn't still be in front of Becky. So she would have been in voice chat there saying, "Get out of my way. You've cut the track. You've gained an advantage. You've got to give the position back because I would have overtaken you had you come back on safely." So that's maybe what's going on there. I mean, they're all in VC together. It's something that I would be talking about. If I was in Becky Eli's shoes and somebody had just cut an entire corner, stayed on the track and kept the position because of it, I would be going mental in the voice chat, going, "Give that position then. You've got to give that to me. You should have a slowdown or something. You know, you can't just cut half the track and keep the position." Becky Ely would be very satisfied with that, you have to say, because Benka has been wont to... more interested in gardening than racing this evening, by the looks of things. More interested in cutting the grass.
Yeah, and he's just done it again. I'm trying to keep. I'm trying to keep. Yeah, right. Literally, as you said, I'm trying to keep an eye on Angelidis here. Angelidis is in the pits. Hutchinson's closing, but it's whether or not he's going to be close enough. I think this is going to bring him out not far behind Angelidis. As he's coming down into Ford curves now. Angelidis is still sat in the pits currently. There is Angelidis. And Hutchinson is coming around the second part. Didn't stop this time. Angelidis is on the right there. It is going to be Hutchinson's going to be taking the lead in the LMGTs, but we do expect the fact that Hutchinson will have to stop again. Angelidis still hasn't moved. Why have you not moved? He's moving now to Wayne Hutchinson. So let's have a look and we're going to see what gap they've got currently. What's Hutchinson's gap to Angelidis currently? About 14-15 seconds, obviously with Angelidis not up to full speed. Coming out the pits currently at the moment. There he is now. He's just coming out right about now, and Hutchinson is nearly 20 seconds there currently at the moment. But Ely is in third, and then we've got Gilles Lalonde lap down. We've got Brian Hall 2 seconds behind him there as well. Overton is still out in front. He's leading Tammy here as well by 2.2 seconds. Actually, it's longer than that. I'm going to be understanding it for Matthew Overton here. I think Tammy is a little bit further back than that. He is a long way back, mind you. And then we've got Smith behind that as well. He's got a long old time. But looking at that, Daniel Kirby in the pits. So is he going to lose a position to De Bruin, who's only 12.11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Oh, he's in the pits behind him. De Bruin just coming in there as well. Sport me it was almost like a rocket blast off countdown then. So
Yeah, it was. It's ruined your party there a little bit, but
not happy. Sorry, De Bruyne.
yeah, interesting.
There we go.
Yeah, I was going to say, interestingly, Owen managed to claw back that P1 there in the MG2 class from Tammy after the contact with Smith as well. So he definitely didn't come out. He came out smelling of roses after that contact, really, with Smith. Smith, on the other hand, is smelling of something much, much worse, as it looks like the damage has caused him to really drop off. You would expect that these guys, because they were all so similar paced originally, that the guys who fell back and behind after the contact maybe would have caught up and concertinaed again eventually after the pit stops and everything else came into effect. But it looks as though the MG2 class, it's those gaps are staying large and nothing happening there. But Overton has done very well to recover and take that place back from Tammy, who maybe had it off himself.
Yeah, definitely there as well. JT Tammy.
The real big question here, though, is how's Leadis just given away the win of this race? It looks like he's catching up rapidly to Hutchinson. He maybe is taking tyres, but maybe Hutchinson as well is going for the two-stopper as well, just the two-stop. So three-stop may be an option here.
But look what did happen to Daniel Kirby.
Oh no, this could be very bad news. Ooh, he's very off track there.
Yeah, he didn't make it
just
through.
About made it.
Mountjoy's been off just before that as well. So Mountjoy here in the green goes in too hot. Oh no, okay, bit of an indecisive move whether or not he was going into the pits there. Felipe Marazzi is another man. We'll bring you up brief little incidents of what's been going on at the moment. That's down into Mulsanne, runs wide. Does he keep it out the barrier? We're a little bit smoked out. He does. And also, your man here, Boreck, just as you mentioned about him doing more gardening. There we go. And
I don't know who that was in behind there, but coming back on the track in a very odd way out of Mulsanne there, and he gets right in the way of an LMP1 car. Yeah,
Kudre just made it through, but unfortunately for Bank, that is what the situation is going on currently at the moment. Gilliam is not. He's not loving this, is he? Let's be real.
He's had a night to forget, really, hasn't he? It's not gone his way at all. That is the nature of this track. I mean, every time I've come back to this track after I hate it, as I was saying before, I think it's been very, very difficult to relearn. And if you don't put the hours and the time and the laps in practice, then this is the kind of result that you sometimes get. I wonder maybe if he's struggling with the car because of setup as well. Like maybe if he's changed setup last moment, it's something that he can't handle or has trouble handling. Could be an issue as well. But so far, starting to get to the business end now. 40 minutes remaining, and at the moment, Dahlgren is currently dominating it as things stand. Kirby has come in for his second stop. Dahlgren will be coming in for another one, I'm sure. 2 stop is the option here, maybe a 3.
Dahlgren's in now. If you think Dahlgren's in and that's only his second stop, he's going to make that.
Yeah, I think majority, anybody who can will try and do the 2 stop. Just saves you the time in the pits. Pits are quite long here. Slow entry, slow exit as well. We've seen a lot of overtakes done while people are in the pits. But it is that fuel situation, and yeah, because guys aren't running very close to each other in the pros, I imagine that nobody's been able to save a great deal of fuel. But I wonder how many people are lifting and coasting here as they're going to the chicanes and other places where you can save that little bit of fuel and maybe take it to the end of the 2 stop. But it is going to be tight. Maybe somebody's going to have to stop a third time. But by the looks of things, the timing in the terms of the 2.4 hours, then yeah, it's going to be a 2 stop for the majority of here.
Yeah, I believe so. Hutchinson's on his way out there as well. He is 84 seconds back. Dahlgren's come out. He's still on 19 seconds over Enrique. Kirby is just catching Enrique at the moment. 6.4 here. But depending on what Dahlgren did there as well. And it looks like, I don't really want to say, but somebody's been off track again. Which may begin with a G and end with a bank, unfortunately.
I was about to say something similar. Was it bank by any chance?
Yeah, he's just unfortunately he's having a really horrendous evening. I've got to be honest, sir. Most people wouldn't have bothered anymore; they would have ditched it. But he is carrying on here as well, and it is now Kirby closing down on Enrique.
kudos for him for sticking with it for sure. That is a admirable quality in a driver. Stay with it. But yeah, night of get from him. It's moving on from the embarrassing more towards the tragic now. Kind of where the pity starts to seep in a little bit rather than the laughter. It's yeah, it's what to forget, bro. I think we've all been there. We've all had a day like that in racing where maybe you just didn't put the time, the practice in, and come race, it really shows. It really shows. Yeah, for Benk.
Yeah, it definitely did there for Benk, unfortunately. But Morazzi, don't get me wrong, Morazzi's not exactly had a good evening. He was off before that. Here he goes.
Yeah, maybe a penalty coming his way for the rejoin and taking out of Becky Eli as well. As it's a big whack. Oh, and did he hit the car as he came back on the track as well?
Just.
Maybe he didn't.
But Morazzi's also had another evening that you can sit back and go, give it up, son. It's been tough.
I don't like to say that to people because I think all time on track is practice time, and it gives you a feeling for the car. And racing conditions is something that you very rarely get to practice as well. Kind of couldn't.
Yeah.
Can you really practice racing conditions? It's all this time is benefiting Benki and Morazzi as well. They're getting better with the car, better with the track, better at understanding everything about it. As all over the shop is Benki, as his tyres are overheated, just about keep it on track again. Though as he goes wide in the fourth chicanes and manages to get it back on the track again there. But yeah, we've all had these days, and I'm ashamed to say I've had more than my fair share of these as well, where you just haven't put in the time of practice, and then come race day, it's a real joy.
Yeah, Kirby is just about to clear Overton. Job done for him. He's now 3.5 back from Enrique currently at the moment as well. Everybody else is really quite spread out. Morazzi's 2 laps back from Maya, so Maya really just needs to keep it on track. I think that will probably do him. Dahlgren.
Endurance racing.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
2 laps, 8 minutes.
Well, I mean, if he smashes into the wall and can't get the car going again, that's it. It's over, isn't it? So it's that is the nature of endurance racing. But
I think from our perspective, let's give Peter Meyer a lot of credit there. He even missed Morazzi spinning round, so he's been doing his thing that he needs to here, Meyer, and I don't think there's going to be much hope of him doing what we were saying about hitting a wall. However, that's Enrique. Felipe Enrique.
And brake slammed on there from the guy behind as he gets very out of shape there, gets on the grass.
Oh, it's Kirby.
Spins it round. It's Kirby as well. It has to slam the brakes on to avoid contact there. You'll be happy with it in the end because he gets the position without having to fight for it. Oh, my word, look at the lock-up on the inside left there.
Kirby just manages to avoid that.
Look at the input on the steering wheel. That tells you the panic. All the panic you needed to know what was happening in Kirby there. The way he was wrestling that wheel from left to right as he was looking at Enrique. They were pretty much making eye contact as he was coming around that corner, facing each other. He's thinking, "Can't park there, mate. Like, get out my way."
Can't park there, sir. Can't park there, sir. He was saying to Enrique there, but Enrique made it easy for him to get past at the end of the day. He's now got a 27 gap to Dahlgren and 36 minutes to do that in here as well. That's going to be a tough one, but one that he might be able to do. He might not be able to do it. So see what happens. There's just gaps all the way through currently, isn't there? There isn't really anyone fighting at the moment. Angelidis is 95 seconds ahead of Hutchinson. Ely's 3.6 back over Miller, so maybe that one will come a little bit closer there as well. Miller is in the pits, mind you, and Becky Ely has just gone past to take third place. She is a further 77 seconds back from Hutchinson. So it's looking very tough that is actually going to be as it is. Tempera is a DNF, Dimarzo DNF, Lane DNF, Olsen DNF, and Victor Shinibi, who did not take the start there either. So that's the situation. Dahlgren, Kirby, Enrique in the LMGT1s, Angelides, Hutchinson, Ely in the LMGT1 AMs, Overton, Tammy and Smith in the LMGT2s, and Maya, Marazzi and Tempera, who is not finished. Marazzi as well, he's just had a day to forget. He's 2 laps down here as well over Maya. So that is it, the situation with 35 minutes on the clock. We might not have many battles left in this race here, unfortunately, with the way they spread out at the moment. The only possible one might be Ethan Funk, if he can get close enough to Schultz, but that's going to be a big ask here as well. And George Angelides is more likely to be catching Funk than Funk is going to be catching the Adrian Rice in front of him. So there we go. De Lima Pora Phil. I'm not sure what that means. So, yeah, not sure what that means, but please put it in chat and let us know here as well. But overall, it's been a nice fight all the way through here, Steve, and we're into the last 4 minutes.
Very quick Google is sure maybe we don't want to know what Pora means, because it seems to be a one of those words that means anything and everything in Portuguese, used in Brazil, but it can also have a few less than polite connotations, should we say? Yeah, maybe unhappy with Phil, possibly. Maybe he's happy with it. It's one of those words that kind of, it's like, I don't know.
Phil who?
Can't think of a very good comparison. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know of any Phil.
In the there's no Phil in the championship. There's no Phil in the YouTube chat. I know we normally have Phil across the pond, or who normally comes in and joins us. He's clearly busy today, but I'm not quite sure who that is. So let us know what you mean there, Ant De Lima, or don't. It doesn't matter either way. It's just interesting to see what that actually means there. To be honest, to be fair, doesn't it? What can it mean?
It's almost caught my curiosity now. I'm interested. I'm invested. I want to know. But yeah, it looks like I can't think of a particular word in English that is used like that kind of thing. But I know one in Greek, which is re, which is just re, re. Like it pretty much means anything and everything. Like you put it at the end of a sentence just as punctuation, or you can put it after a swear word to exacerbate the swear word, or you can put it after a nice word to exacerbate the nice word. It means anything and everything. The only thing I can think of really in English is that us Geordies up here in Geordieland say man at the end of every sentence for whatever reason, man. It's just the way it works. Just use that the same way. But I like those little idiosyncrasies in languages and words like that can mean anything and everything. I think there's one in Hungarian called oida, which is depends on the way you say it, what it means.
Yeah, well, let's not go into too many different languages and the meaning of the words that we all only ever seem to find out from one language. Actually, to be honest, it's like Polish and what their meanings were. So let's not exasperate that one. But
we've got more. We've got Vi Phil from Fernando Reis in chat. We've got Bora Phil from Diego Rodriguez in chat as well. Who's Phil?
Yeah.
Why does everybody support him so
yeah,
much?
who is he? Let us know who you're talking about. But yeah, meaning of everything apparently for Paula. So there we go. Fernando Reis there by Phil. Not sure who that is, and I don't know who Phil is. I can't see a Phil unless you mean Felipe Enrique. That could be the one, couldn't it?
Possibly. But
yeah, Phil there, Felipe Enrique. So that could be who he means. So I'm going to go with that one. But obviously be aware we are English commentators, so if if there is an alternative there, please let us know. Not entirely sure on that one. But Daniel Kirby, Felipe Enrique, Wout de Bruyne. Maybe they're talking about the fact that Enrique put it into the wall, and the meaning that we're perceiving might not be the meaning. But look, onwards and upwards we go here as well as we're going into the last, literally just breaking into the last 30 minutes here, and we've still got Dahlgren, Kirby, Enrique, Angelides, Hutchinson, Ely, Tammy, Overton and Smith, and Maya, Marazzi and Tempera.
And to get to the point of the stage in the races, especially when everything's quiet down and the gaps are large, very, very easy to lose focus at this stage. Just drift off a little bit in your head think about anything other than the next corner coming up, and it can spell disaster. So this is the point of an endurance race where that focus is all important, and kind of untoward action on track here can cost you big, because there's not a lot of time left to recover it. I'm going to say Becky Eli has done a great job of recovering this race after Ely. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it was going to drop in there eventually, because we made such a big deal about it before the race started. But I knew I was going to get it wrong at one point, one or another. But what a comeback though. Up in P3, damage limitations, great amount of points to gain here in the championship. Means that she's going to really stay on top of the championship and in command of it after Angelidis is going to make great headway in that championship, catching up to her. 28 points, but 4 points that she's going to get from this? Yes, 4 points from this one means that she's going to stave them off for a little bit longer. 34.5 points at the end of this, whereas Angelidis will be on 28. So Angelidis will be very pleased. He's finally going to get a win here, as long as he keeps it all together. Don't want to curse the man. It's a thing, definitely. The commentator's curse, and I'm not afraid to use it.
I'm not afraid to put it on you, George Angelidis, being aware. As he's in that Ferrari 333 SP here, Mr. Angelidis, flying along quite nicely. Ethan Funk, 85 seconds up the road. Adrian Rice, 26 seconds back. And Angelidis is mixing it up in the middle with the pros. So a great job from Angelidis there. We'll bring you the overall standings on the tower as they currently are. As you can see, Angelidis is sitting in 6th. Here in the ahead of Rice, Schultz, Coudray and Whited, and then Hutchinson, Ely, Mountjoy, Miller, Bank, and then Hall after that as well. And then we've got DNFs of Tempera, Dimarzo, Lane, Olsen and Geneva. So it's been an interesting one here as it's gone on. So the cars are starting to come back nearly almost together, but there are still some big old gaps. We might keep an eye on the Miller Mountjoy battle, but even that's extending the wrong way, as it goes out now to 6 seconds from Miller. Big old gaps across the field here, Steve. I think this is even a little bit more spread out than what I was expecting. I thought they were going to be a lot closer.
Yeah, me too. I expected people's toes down these big straights to mean that the cars were a little closer together, but obviously the dirty air in these Porsche curves and turns 1 to 5 as well is meaning that people can't follow quite as close as they'd like to. But I'm going to say that overall standings there really gives you an indication as to how well Angelidis has been doing today. He's been absolutely epically quick and dominating the AM series, and even beating a few of the pro drivers here as well. I'd be very pleased with his performance today.
Yeah, definitely there. This Miller Mountjoy battle might start coming down now. It's 4.7. Mountjoy's in the green, not the first green, the second green on your screen, just going up the hill. There he is at the bottom of your picture. There's Miller. So Miller is slowly closing up. The battle's the gap was out of 5, is now 4.2, as it looks like we may have just seen Marazzi go off track once more. He looks like he's done quite a lot of off track, but it also looks like this man may have done as well. Mountjoy may have gone off track, and that's why this has come so close together. Oh, he did. Well, that's one way of taking that chicane. But Mountjoy and Marazzi is another one that's also just gone off. It's a bit of an evening to forget for Marazzi, I've got to be honest. That's his first one.
Once again in the chicane as well, as it's an allowed pedal too early.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it's curb that's done him really.
I don't know why he's jumped up in the air. That was a bit bizarre.
It is a bit just odd physics, I guess. Sometimes suspension, the way suspension works is in the games, especially in iRacing at the moment as well. I don't know if you've seen this in iRacing, where cars flip. Because the suspension is so hard, the racing kind of bounces the car around like a jack in the box kind of thing. There's another person off track there. That's the forward curves.
Yeah. Whitehead
goes off
as well.
Whitehead goes off. Again, forward curves, just as deadly here in this version as they are in the modern version. The modern version even more so, I would say, because they're just unforgiving in the modern version. I've never seen anybody get away with going over them like that in the modern version of this track. The sausage curbs on the inside and of each curb there on the Ford chicanes there is deadly in the modern version as well. I don't know if there's a conversation to be had about those sausage curbs and their role in racing in recent years. I think another driver a couple of weeks ago got his spine broken once more by going over a sausage curb, and really begs the question, at what point do we just bring these gravel traps back instead of these sausage curbs?
Sausage curbs are annoying.
I hate them. When I'm driving over them as well, kind of, they're always they're there to try and prevent you from going over them, but it doesn't really take into account anything what happens to you when you do go over them. Like, is it really fair to just destroy anybody's car that goes over them? I like the gravel traps where you just get stuck. Maybe you can get out of them as well if you keep the momentum going as well, which we've seen from time to time.
Definitely that as well. I think gravel traps at times, I think the thing is with gravel traps is the physics within a simulator make it a lot easier to get out of. You know, don't get me wrong, gravel traps in real life are sometimes when you bend the car, you are not getting out of it. But they are safer than a sausage curb that's going to flip you up in the air and do somersaults. So you've got to think of the pros and cons of having a sausage curb compared to having a gravel trap. I think personally, I would take a gravel trap any day of the week over a sausage curb that's likely to put me upside down as well. So, you know, it's a bit different. I suppose everybody's preference maybe might be different, but personally, I would take a gravel trap any day of the week.
I'm an absolute sadist, and I'm not a big fan of people in general. So personally, I think it should just be a 400-foot drop on either side of the track. Nothing at all. Just dig a hole, a big trench, 400 feet deep, either side of the track, all the way around, and say, if you can't stay on the track, you don't deserve to live. Simple as that. A bit extreme, but I guarantee you, I can guarantee you though, if it was there, nobody would go into it. You would never hit that.
Yeah, you would
never.
At
all, people would be very thinking very twice about hitting any of those drops. But yeah, I am a bit mean.
I can see. But this poor man.
Oh my word!
How is he still driving? I would have gone and bank once more.
Is that a penalty for cutting the chicane again? I mean, we saw somebody else cut the chicane earlier as well. The first one, that's the second one being cut there as well. Is that a big penalty coming their way as well? Do they get a slow down like an iRacing as it gets a bit wobbly there in on ours as well? It's,
yeah, Stephen Miller. This is Miller closing the gap down on Mountjoy to 5 seconds. Kudre has also literally pulled out a chunk of time over Schultz. There's Schultz ahead, but Schultz is in traffic. But Kudre is coming here, and he is flying at the moment. There's Schultz just gone up the road in front of us. Gap's down to 2.2. Schultz in the Mercedes there, and there is Enrique in the Toyota GT1. So this could be a battle that will come together towards the end of the race. 22 minutes remaining here, Steve. It's definitely been a battle of how can I put it? Mental fatigue, should we say, for some drivers? Marazzi.
Battle of wills rather than on the track mainly so far this race, but there has been some battles on track, especially in the early days, and it's not over yet. There's some guys out there who are maybe going for the two-stop, and the GT ones particularly might not get to the end and may have to come in again at the very death. That could be an interesting strategy impact on the strategies. And as we said before as well, endurance racing is all about the focus and maintaining it for this long period of time. It's difficult. It's this end of the race that the big mistakes start to come in, and we're starting to see people go off track. Starting to see people missing chicanes entirely.
Like that.
Like there's a Mercedes. That's Schultz all over the back, and that's gets overtaken there then because of that as well by Coudrier. So that is the focus coming into play. Like, I mean, could I have timed that any better if I was? It was almost like I planned it. That was not scripted.
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. And
commentator's cursing you've just used on Schultz there.
It was 100% unintended. I apologise unreservedly to Schultz for that, but I wasn't in control of the wheel of the car. Let's put it that way. That's what I always say whenever I curse somebody. It wasn't my hands on the wheel. It's definitely not my fault. But this now gives us a race on our course because Schultz was quicker and now he's behind. So he's going to get the tow as we go over this crest where that CLR flipped upside down as they all jump over. Get a little bit of air as you go over that, as down in the braking zone of Mulsanne. Is he going to now start to close into the back of Coudray and get this place back? Is this going to give us a bit of entertainment and battling on track? Great.
Yeah, possibly. If Coudray makes a mistake and Schultz can get on the back of him, of course, that might actually happen. But we'll have to see how it works out and see what goes on here. But I don't think it is. Coudray was catching Schultz, and I'm expecting him to see how he is, how he pulls away, to be honest. Miller's gap's down to 4 seconds over Mountjoy, so that's come down again. That's gone even less at the moment. Angelidis has had a slowie. What have you been up to? Oh, Indianapolis again. Oh, Angelidis. He's going to do it.
That's a big one, yeah.
Don't want to be doing it like that. And also,
just locking up the back tyres there as he comes around, and it sends the back of the car overtaking the front of the car in quick succession. Very hard to catch those ones when you lock the back brakes, and it takes a long time to get back on track as well, going the wrong way on the rejoin as well. But I'm going to leave this, should be okay. He's got a big enough gap behind. That little mistake like that shouldn't affect him too much, but to avoid any more of those, because hit the walls too hard, you get a bit of crabbing on the go, and could spell disaster. It's got traffic here, comes down past that Ukrainian liveried car of Tammy, I believe it is, who's now back in the lead of the LMGT2. 15-second gap between him and Overton, so decent job from Tammy there as well. Took advantage of that error from the guys around him in the class, having that incident into Mulsanne in the early stages. But Angelidis, other than that one little mistake there that McCourt, has had a very good race so far. And it's looking odds on for his first win of the season.
yeah, definitely here. Hopefully for George Angelidis, he will manage to hold on to this position. Magnus Dahlgren still out in front by 30 seconds over Kirby. Angelidis has got 109 seconds away there. Ely 172 back. Mountjoy, Miller a lap down. Gilles Lalonde 2 laps down. Benk 1 lap down from his AM, of course. And then Brian Hall 2 laps down from the front man of Dahlgren. JT Tammy out in front by 15 seconds over Matthew Overton at the moment. So there is JT. As well, as we've got about 17 minutes remaining, 16 seconds there as well. Peter Meyer has got 2 laps over currently Marazzi. Of course, Marazzi has had his fair share of shindigs and incidents. So, unfortunately for him, he has lost a lot of time. Tempera is out of that one altogether, and Smith is sitting in third in the others as well. So it's all sort of now really spread out. Schultz has lost gaps to Coudray. There goes Coudray. There's got 4.7 seconds back from him as well. So these are pretty much looking like these are cemented where they are at the moment.
And given there no major incidents, yeah, it's probably going to be the case, which means that Dahlgren takes a commanding, absolutely dominating lead in this championship with his 3rd win in a row. Puts him on 39 points over his closest rival on 24, which is Wouter de Bruyne. And so that means a huge gap there. 15 points, that gap. And with the gap only being 4 points per race that you can gain if you win and your rival comes second, it means he's halfway through the season and dominating things as it stands.
Yeah, definitely at the moment as well. It's going to leave a nice little interesting run in for for the end, or the second half I should say, of the season here as well, in the WSC Historic Series, and one that I'm looking forward to as well. Don't forget we have got the Modern Series as well, and don't also forget we've got a lot more racing coming up on the JBB YouTube channel as well, with no fewer than 5 broadcasts tomorrow alone. Peak Up, starting off European Round 10 live from Suzuka with the Radical World Series Round 9 from Mount Panorama. Tanzo Round 3 and 4 from Virginia International Speedway, and the Formula 3 Round 10 from for the IGP live from Twin Ring Motegi. And then we go on to the SR8s Americas there as well. That is also from Bathurst in Australia. So a lot of racing for you tomorrow, and a lot of racing next week as well, as we keep going further on all the way up to Friday. There's racing all the way through every day next week. So get involved with that. And of course, don't forget, we've got the PEC 10 hours of Sebring next Saturday as well. So a long old 10-hour race of Sebring next Saturday. So you can get yourself and sit back, chill out and relax and watch that for the day. It'll be like watching real life endurance there as well. Schultz gets a little bit out of shape on the curb there, and manages to keep it on track for him. So good job from Schultz. But all in all, it's been a tough evening for some of these guys here once more. And, you know, I think it's... Do we think a learning curve maybe is, Steve, for some of these people? Because, you know, you're finally realising that at the end of the day, this track is complicated. It's more than just a few straights and a couple of corners.
Certainly is, yeah. And I think there's a lot of the trap that a lot of these drivers maybe fall into is like, it's Le Mans. We all know Le Mans. It's a great track. We all know it. It's easy. I've done it before. And then you get in there and realise, actually, hold on, it's a lot more than I remember. Especially the historic version, there are many, many differences between this version and the modern one that everybody will be driving majority of the time. So people will be forgetting maybe where they're at. Maybe this, especially in places like Porsche curves. Porsche curves, for the most part, are pretty identical, but it's the exit to them that looks very different. And you can go a lot quicker than you believe you can in the modern version out of the exit there, Maison Blanche and places like that. So maybe people haven't done the practice that they needed to. That's the biggest lesson that they're probably going to take away from here, is that we need to do at least a couple of hours practice, get the laps in, get them under their belt in order to do well in these races. If you don't, then you end up, unfortunately, going off track several times. And I mean, each off track is another 30-40 seconds that you lose to your rivals. And it's a big part of endurance racing, is just keeping the car on the black stuff.
Yeah, absolutely as well. There's a couple of off tracks we want to have a run through here before we finish off. 13 minutes remaining as well. Daniel Kirby was one of them. This is down into Ford curbs. This goes over the gravel there as well. Actually, that's out of turn 4, I believe. Stephen Miller, I think this is how he managed to retain the gap. Same corner, mind you. And then, unfortunately, our man of the described by Steve as doing more gardening than driving has gone off track. And then a little bit down the road, he's done the same thing again. And unfortunately for Guillem there, yeah, not ideal. Probably could have done with a bucket and spade inside that car, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I think he's just making sure all the gravel's in the right place. That's all he's doing. He's just counting the gravels, pebbles, making sure they're all up to par, really. He's been doing that all race. Very good of him, to be honest, to make sure that the gravel stayed in put.
Yeah, definitely. Miller is closing on Mountjoy. Very, very slowly. 11 minutes remaining with about 2 laps currently here as well. Let's see where our leader is on track. So Magnus Dahlgren. He's around the back end of the circuit. Porsche curves, 11.5 minutes, 3 minutes a lap, 3:69, 3 more laps. And we will be finishing off this race. But it has been quite an interesting one to sit back and watch from our point of view as well. Especially as there has been, you know, cars making silly mistakes. And I think it's just happened again here as well with Brian Hall. He's just been going about his business, and unfortunately, first time we've seen him since the beginning of the race. And also Stephen Miller, but he running hot onto Mountjoy. Did he miss Mountjoy? Nearly. So that has kind of put the end to that battle, unfortunately for Miller. Goes hard on the brakes. Mountjoy's a little bit earlier, and Stephen Miller did manage just to get it spun and just missed him, but that was close as well. So that battle that we thought was going to be coming together will unfortunately not be at the moment. So yeah, long way. Still got 10 minutes remaining here, but the closest battle on track has now dissipated.
Yep, it's unfortunate from a spectator's point of view, but I mean, from the driver's point of view, we'll be happy that that battle is over and done with, and the pressure's off. But we're starting to see people starting to make lots of mistakes here. This is 2.5 hours, 3 hours they've been sat in their seats, and they're not comfortable seats, these sim racing rigs. It's another off-track excursion is Miller. You can see here the tiredness starting to affect people. They're going wide in the chicanes, they're getting wheels into the gravel where they shouldn't, and it's causing major problems for these guys. The tiredness is starting to set in, people's heads are dropping, and this is when the big mistakes start to come. And yeah, if you make the mistake now and you end up DNFing out of the race, that's 2.5 hours of your life wasted that you're never getting back. So yeah, you've got to just ease off a bit at this stage, I think. Just get the car to the end, get yourself to the end in one piece, and make sure that you're not losing your focus. Just slow it down maybe to 90% of your pace. And, as Ben Bob says in the chat, keeping consistent tyre temps is a big part of not getting caught out at the end. That's it. These tyres are going to be ruined, especially if people didn't change them either. There'll be some drivers out there who didn't change the tyres, maybe on the very last legs of those tyres. Yeah, if they're overheating, or maybe you're overdriving a little bit as you get tired, make those little mistakes, snaps of oversteer, corrections, starts getting very, very difficult to manage the differences in the way these tyres are going to start handling as the race goes on.
Yeah, definitely there as well. And I'm always going to be tough. Oh, no. No. Ely and Smith. Oh, Ely went in speedy into the pits there. In that turtle livery. God, blimey, went in like an absolute rocket.
Certainly did. That cost her a position. Did she even mean to go in? I wonder why she's gone in. Was she just forced in there because somebody was on the inside? I've seen that happen in racing before. I've seen somebody literally get punted into the pit lane. Never ideal. She can't go on to P3, so she hasn't lost a position or anything. Maybe she was just going for some fresh tyres. I can maybe get past the slap. Don't know if that means anything here in this series.
I wondered if that was a splash and dash at the end, you know.
Maybe she couldn't make it at the end, yeah, possibly. I mean, we did say, especially the GT ones, that it was going to be a tight two-stop if you could make it. She's had a couple of incidents and maybe a bit of damage that maybe caused fuel not to be as efficient, the car not to be as efficient with its fuel as maybe expected. Quick dash and go. She's back going again. No positions lost, which is important for her. Still fighting for that championship. A long way to go before the end of the championship, but she's in a commanding stage at this moment in time. There are people in that AM category that have definitely got pace. So far this season, Becky Eli has proved great. I have to say, I'm very impressed with her emotional control this race. Not to let the red mist descend or anything get in our way after getting taken out by Marazzi. Midway through the race. She hasn't let that affect her in any way. She's just got back on track, carried on, even after the crabbing, she got that repaired, and just carried on her own race at her own pace, and kept things smooth and consistent for the remainder. And she's managed to get herself back onto a nice position in the P3.
Yeah, definitely has that. So well done to Becky Ely. But you have one off, gets tougher and tougher to keep it on track. Yeah, but I get what you're saying, and I understand that, but things like this are surely avoidable.
I mean, yeah, that's carrying far too much speed in the entry there. Tries to scrub it off by holding the brake, the trail brake, longer than you should, and locks the front tyres, back end overtake.
Yeah.
This is the tiredness, and just kind of, I want to say, sick of it. Oh my word, he's around again. Losing the back. The tyres are absolutely on fire here in this car now that he's had a few spins, and like you said, it's harder and harder. It gets harder and harder every single time you overheat the tyres to get those temps back under control. And yeah, really, really struggling here is Bank, and having the greatest time of it, kind of thing. And it's just all about really just taking it easy for the next few corners. You've had an off, just take it easy for the next few corners. Really lift early and very heavily as well. Brake early and softly. Keep that car as smooth as butter. Try and think of yourself. I used to get this in my driving lessons. I don't know if you got this or not. Think to yourself, put a glass of water on the dashboard, and if that water spills, you've done something wrong. Right. It's very difficult to do. Jurassic Park style. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, but I'm not quite sure that I could keep a glass of water on the dashboard while I'm driving.
It's all about the smoothest drive. I mean, I don't drive that smoothly on the roads these days at all. I definitely didn't when I had that old Yaris, a little warm hatch that I had. That was absolutely rapid, 140 brake horsepower, could do 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds, something like that. That definitely wasn't going to keep water nice and steady on its dashboard when I was driving that. The way you do it, really. Benke definitely would have spilt the whole cup at this stage, by the looks.
Yeah, definitely.
Forget
that one. I think there would have just literally got no glass left. So yeah, that would have been an interesting one there for him there, Steve. I think it would have been covered in water.
Yeah, bring back memories of that Top Gear challenge where they had the water on their laps, like they had to drive over a rocky road in and see how much water was left at the end. But yeah, one person who's have all the water left in their cup is Dahlgren, who's been just so precise. Every time we follow on board with him, I'm watching him drive, and even when he's driving through track, he's using all of the track. He's using every inch that's available. Takes the car to the limit everywhere, but he's so smooth as well. I've not seen a single slip of those tyres. Anytime I've watched him, he's been planted like the proverbial apple tree. It's great to watch. It's absolutely, look at this. It's the way he takes the 4 chicanes there.
Yeah.
Smooth as you like. Takes every inch of track available to him as well, with no mistakes. And this is how he's managed to win this race with a 38-second gap, one might add. Unbelievable drive from him, you have to say. And this is why he's leading the championship as well, I imagine. The smoothness is all when it comes to racing.
Yeah.
It is the absolute pinnacle of everything that you do.
Definitely, we are on the last lap of the race now here. So Dahlgren is going to be basically 38-second lap in front at the moment. Done an absolutely stellar job as well. So it looks like he's going to be doing the victory. Angelidis is going to get his first one of the season. Tammy's going to get one. And Meyer, by the looks of it, as well in all 4 classes. They've all done really well here to have survived till the end, haven't they? Really, and you know, a great job from all of them, really.
Yeah, true. I mean, I've got to give a big amount of credit there to the man himself, Benke, because he's going to finish all of the offs that he's had, all the issues that he's had, and he's still going to finish, and he's going to get a point here today as well in the Mont. And that's down to his determination and tenacity behind that wheel. And yeah, he's definitely going to have plenty of dirt to take home with him from that car as well. He'll probably plant a few plants of his own just with what comes out of the footwell. But Kirby as well, you'll have to be very disappointed that he couldn't take advantage of this P1 that he had today. But I think the pace was never really there, and he didn't take tyres either in his pit stop, which meant that he maybe lost out quite a bit because of that strategy call. And also P2 in the championship, P4 here today. They'll be disappointed with this one. He's lost. It's going to be drop points from his point of view in terms of keeping the chase on Dahlgren. Dahlgren, very, very good.
Yeah, I think Kirby's second pit stop where he did not take tyres, that was his killer. Without a shadow of a doubt. He lost a bunch of time from Dahlgren there, and that was the problem. When Dahlgren can pull out 22 seconds and pull in 6 seconds per lap, you know you're in trouble. You know you made the wrong choice, and he made the wrong choice, well and truly there, not taking tyres. So unfortunately for him, not an ideal situation, but I'm sure one he'll live and learn from.
I wonder how many of these drivers, I mean, is it going to come down to that, do you think, there, James? Whether or not it's Kirby just didn't do a full race practice session and didn't know that taking tyres would be quicker. And did Dahlgren do that, or did he just guess? Is the question. Really putting the time in the practice session to get on top of these strategies.
Yeah, well, that'll be a question we'll ask when if he comes to interview Magnus Dahlgren, because it has been quite a interesting evening of racing for these guys, and I think overall we can only but perceive that that didn't happen. So, you know, we'll take it as it didn't happen. But again, in an ideal world, we don't know. So I think we'll just have to see how this one pans out when we have a chat with Magnus, if he jumps in for an interview, I think, on that one, Steve. But it's definitely possible that somebody didn't take tyres, and Magnus Dahlgren is coming across the line here to finish off this evening race. He will be taking the checkered flag very, very shortly. Time is up, all done and dusted. Dahlgren is your winner here as well in the pro class. And it is going to be Angelidis, who had to pit right at the end there by the looks of it as well. He's in the pits now. George Angelidis just manages to get to the end there. And yeah, that looked like it was a close one for him, didn't it?
Yeah, maybe. He only did the 2 stops in the end. He said it was going to be tight at the beginning. So it's a query as to whether or not that's basically why he had to come through the pits there, just to kind of save the fuel a little bit. But he gets the win. He gets his first win of the season, and over a large margin over Hutchinson as well. Eli with a great recovery to P3 as well. So yeah. Great job from her. Tammy as well probably looked at the back of those 2 guys in front of him before they had that incident in Mulsanne, and was thinking these guys are too quick, and he has won this race in great style just by keeping it together, really. You've got to say, great job to him as well, to win that T2 Pro class as well. So that's going to be big points for him, and could give him a decent lead in the championship. Well, it's only going to be 4 points over. Well, yeah, you could give him the lead in the championship. We'll give him the lead in the championship as well, I think, for the GT2 class as well. So that's great news for Tammy.
Yeah, and Peter Meyer will come across the line here as well. And take the victory in the LMGT2 AMS. So
4th in a row for Meyer, that is. I've got to say, that's an unbelievable achievement, and he'll be looking to go for 5 at Dijon, I'm sure. But to not gaining points in either of the first 2 races, he's gained points in every race since.
Absolutely stellar job from Meyer in his Viper GT-SR. Coming around the final part of the circuit, Porsche curves there. And the job done, well done to him. Did what he had to do, didn't he? Avoided any grief, kept the car on track, and succeeded that way, I think. That was one of the big things, wasn't it, really? But Meyer, he had such a lead. He didn't, well, he had a lead, really, from 3rd or 4th lap, I think it was, and he just kind of led from the start and finish.
That's what you want as a racing driver. You want those boring, slow races where, well, he's coming at the pits to the end, but something that gets him there, I suppose. He won't lose the positions behind. They were all lapped, I imagine. So
yeah, they were.
Would have been finished the last lap, I guess. But yeah, what a great race that was. I mean, maybe not a great deal of on-track action in the last second half, but the championship and obviously endurance racing is always entertaining in its own right, just because it's you versus track, and a lot of people were struggling with this track for certain. Yeah,
well, here are the session results. Magnus Dahlgren is your winner here with Daniel Kirby in 2nd, Felipe Enrique 3rd, Wouter de Bruin 4th, Adrian Rice 5th. Ethan Funk has just taken Rice at the end there. That's an interesting manoeuvre, as Ethan Funk has just gone up into 5th place. Adrian Rice is in. Okay, let's hold on a minute. What's going on here? Everybody's over the line. Everybody's finished. These guys do look like they're still racing, which is the weirdest situation I've probably seen. I'm hoping they're going to pull into the pits, are they? Yes.
I'm guessing they are. One of them is.
Angelidis is not. Did he still have 1 lap left because he come out of the pits though?
It's a possibility that he wasn't lapped, so he comes into the pits to get that dash and splash to get to the end, and he still had 1 lap to go, maybe, because he wasn't lapped. He was in P6 overall, so...
Just where the finishing line is, makes it out that he may have had to do that. But then has Meyer still got to do that? But he was already lapped, so surely...
Yeah, surely Meyer was already lapped, so, like...
Yeah, he was already finished.
P6 in the GT1 is different to P1 in the GT2, isn't it? So
yeah, well, let's bring you up the standings that we've got at the moment as well. Magnus Dahlgren in first, Daniel Kirby second, Felipe Enrique third in the end. Wout de Bruin fourth, Ethan Funk fifth, George Angelidis is sixth and leader of the LMGT AMS. Adrian Rice seventh, Joachim Kudre eighth, and Alexander Schultz ninth, and Jason Whitehead is down in 10th place. Wayne Hutchinson in 11th, Becky Ely in 12th, and Tom Mountjoy in 13th, Stephen Miller 14th, Brian Hall 15th, Willem Bank. Well, I don't really know what to say about your evening of racing there, sir. Blimey, that's all I'm going to say. JT Tammy leads the LMGT2s in 17th, Matthew Overton 18th, Gilles Lalonde 19th, Peter Meyer leads the LMGT2 AMS, and then beyond that as well, Ross Smith in the LMGT2, Felipe Marazzi 22nd, Tempera, Dimarzo, Lane, Olsen, and Victor Janibi is not finishing here this evening. So there we go. Well, a tough one for many, I think, should we say on that one?
yeah, really tough one for many. Interesting tidbit of information there as well, as that puts JT Tammy equal on points with Ross Smith for first place in their category with the GT2 Pros, I should say. So 30 points apiece each with them, and Overton has 29 right behind them. So those 3 guys are going to be battling out for the remainder of the season. And I imagine there's going to be a bit of a discussion about whose fault that was going into Mulsanne.
Yeah, I reckon as well. But I think it's going to be an interesting one. But can really Ross argue? He was the one who made the instant mistake, wasn't it? He's the one who went off and then lost the car and then, spun the car. So can he really argue about that situation? I don't know. I wouldn't have a clue on that one, how that one's going to work out and what the discussions will be there as well. But there we go, guys. And that is your 2.5 hours of Le Mans here for the historic season series. Sum it up for us, Steve.
Oh, highly entertaining, I would say. Endurance racing at its finest. It's a very, very tough track. And a number of people really struggled with it, you've got to say. So, yeah, chaotic would be the one word I would maybe use, especially in terms of off tracks. I mean, I get the feeling that we spent more time looking at cars on the grass than we did on the track at times. But that is the nature of endurance racing, and it's what makes it so entertaining. And, yeah, I think Dahlgren, who managed to keep it all smooth and calm in his end, will be very thankful of that fact. Those drivers who did do that, smooth, calm, and on the track the entire time, will have gained big. And that's what endurance racing is all about. Who can do that, who can't.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, it looks like I haven't got nobody wanting to come and have a chat, which is a surprise. I thought Mr. Angelidis might have been in here as well, gloating about the fact that he has just taken his first victory. Hasn't come in there either. But I think that's going to be where we're going to round this one off, I think. And guys, thank you so much for joining us as well. And Delima, Fredo, Reese, Ben Porm as well. Much love to you. Mr. Reese, GG to you. Heel and Toe as well earlier on for coming in, and Paul Racing. Much love on that one. But I think, guys, we're just about to round it out from myself here up in the booth and Stephen Carabellis. As always, take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.